Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Dropped Frames. It's me and Zeke this week. Cohh is out on a trip. I don't know if he said publicly where he was at, so we'll just say he's on a trip with his family for memories.
I think he's going to compete in the Olympics, actually.
Yes, yeah, they the Turkish, the silver medal Turkish guy.
That's a great start, man.
Really? Yeah, thank you, Rami. Thank you. Yeah.
Stop, I'm Turkish.
I can't even go on with this joke. Fuck you. Okay, how about that? How about fuck you?
Dude, it's already falling apart.
It's already falling apart. We brought in two ringers, unfortunately. One of those ringers is Rami Ismail. Rami, how's it going? How you been? What's up?
It's good. I'm having a great day since 14 seconds ago. It's been amazing. So
great, fantastic.
Yeah, no, good day. I went flying, flew an airplane.
Oh, nice.
New one. Never flown that one before.
Wait, which one did you fly? What did you fly? What type?
Piper Archer 3, which is a little larger than what I normally fly. But I wanted to take a flight a bit further, like in the nearby future. Like I normally stay around the Netherlands a bit, and I want to get to Germany.
Okay.
It was like a nice castle town that I drove by, and they had a little airfield. I'm like, you know what? I'll fly there. So I went flying in the Alps a few weeks ago, and that was amazing. Like watching the mountains sort of to your left and right. Like it was great. There was like one point where we were coming in for landing in the Alps. You're flying at like 7,000 feet. You look to your left, and there's this dude eating lunch on a porch. And you're like, that is not. You're not. He was just sitting there. He's just like.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it was wild.
Dude, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, soon.
I had a question.
Okay.
Are you the real Rami, or are you like evil Rami? Because last time you didn't have the whole thing.
Yeah. No, that started happening a while ago when the TSA took my shaving kit.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, Rami. Like you could do some damage with that thing. To be honest.
Yeah. No, so I this was a while ago. I flew to GDC, and they took my shaving kit, and so I couldn't. Like, I flew to GDC.
Did you have a straight edge in it? Like what?
Yeah, why would they take it?
No, just a normal, just like one of the Philips one blade, like the most simple thing you can possibly imagine. It's USB charged, which is why I have it. But I flew. They took it, and I flew to GDC with just my full it was all there. I hadn't shaven in like a week or something.
Yeah,
and I'm an Arab, so if I don't touch it for 12 seconds, I look like Zeke, right? Like it's just like instant.
Yeah.
Dude, I wish I had that problem. Couldn't be me.
So
never grown a beard, man. It's never happened.
I didn't really have time to like properly shave anymore, and I couldn't buy a shaving kit, so I just went to GDC, and I kind of like was like you know, hair everywhere, and people looked at me and they're like, "Oh, new style, that's much nicer," and I'm like, "Oh,
well,
I see how it is."
Yeah,
you just like this.
Yeah, a beard is basically makeup for men. So
yeah,
you should definitely, if you can, partake in said beard. Speaking of Thor, how's it going?
It's going good. It's going good. Can't grow a beard. Yeah, no, I get this thing where I get like these two like things down here, right? I get like that. Then I get these islands like this, and then I get like a triangle and then a racing stripe down my neck, and it just I look like the Pringles guy mixed with Jigsaw, but with hair, dude. It's a mess. It's a freaking mess.
Pringles guy, okay.
Yeah, it's bad. You don't want to see it. It's awful. Like and that's not good. You don't want that. So I can't grow a beard. Never could. But I got the long hair, so it's fun.
You want to try a chip?
Is that Jigsaw? Do we got him on the line?
It's so bad, dude. It's so bad.
Do you want to try our new pizza flavor?
Yeah, it'd be great. Yeah, I'd be down. I'd be into it.
Oh shit.
Yeah, welcome back to the show, Thor. After we gave you a week break, and now we're gonna wring as much content out of you as possible for this show.
Should I do that back to you? Should I bring up League of Legends Bronze again? Is that how we're supposed
look? Don't. Why would you? I've not even played in like a month. Maybe
okay. It's okay. Maybe I'll coach you out of it. It'll be fun.
What that'd be great if you're actually talented at the league. We should do some coaching. Yeah, I'm on board. I got EDF with Rami coming up eventually, and then we can do some league coaching with with old Thor. It'll be good.
Yeah, we could do it. We could do it.
Zeke, what are you going to teach me? What's our co-stream now that these two? I can't let you be alone in this. What are we doing?
Okay, the thing I'm going to teach you is how to let go.
Oh,
I'm going to teach you how to let go of your negative emotions. We're going to do some guided meditation, and we're going to, I'm kidding. I really don't have anything to teach you except like the only thing I have any like real world experience in is I mean, even real world is kind of weird to say, but improv. That's the only thing that like,
sure. Yeah.
But I feel like I'm actually teaching a class at TwitchCon.
Oh, really?
Improv for streamers. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Or I'm helping teach a class. So it's not just me, but
Right.
that's the only thing I've done so long enough that I feel like I have enough skill to impart to other people.
Ah, okay. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
So if you want to learn how to improv a little bit, I could definitely go through the basics with you.
Okay.
With any of you, actually.
Improv stuff is like super helpful. It actually made me better at streaming, was learning from other comedians and stuff. In fact, specifically, I learned from insult comics. So I'd go back and watch things like Carlin and stuff like that on YouTube. And it allowed me to learn how to deal with heckling, because like all of Twitch streaming is heckling. It's just like a billion times heckling all the time, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
It worked really well. Like allowed me to get more comfortable doing that and realize that you can have a laugh with the audience, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
No,
That
that's
is true.
one of the first things you get into, like into the headspace of like when you go up there, you should remove all of your pride and all of your self-esteem and all of that kind of shit.
It's gone.
And go from zero. And as long as like people who get offended or hurt feelings and stuff like that, oftentimes aren't very funny.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
That makes sense.
No, I can agree with that.
I would agree with that as well. Well, we don't really have a topic this time, Thor, in terms of interviewing you. So we're just going to do like a normal show. This is going to be like, we're going to go through, it's going to be the news, which will be mostly Rami screaming about Bungie, probably, maybe. And
the voice actor strike and
there has, oh yeah, that's right. It's been a while. I forgot you haven't been here in a couple shows, weeks. Maybe months. I don't know how long it's been. And then we'll do what we've been playing and talk about all that stuff, and then probably wrap up and do some shout outs. But we do have your board, so if you ever need it, let us know. We've got the drawing board for you. You can this is his Rami, if you would like the board, you can I can give you access to the board as well.
You could write words on it.
Can we do flowcharts?
Yeah.
We could do flowcharts if you'd like.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell
it's not MS Paint though. That's true. It's true. It's not.
Oh, that's
MS
a little
Paint.
disappointing.
Yeah.
It's a lesser version of Paint. It's fine.
Yeah.
JP doesn't give me access to the board because time to penis is near zero.
It is
like 0.1 seconds, dude.
It's very fast on the TTP. Yeah. But yeah, let's jump into the news. This past week, it's been kind of a sad week of both Game Informer closing kind of out of nowhere. I guess the writing was on the wall. We'll get to that though, because I know Rami's probably, I wouldn't use the word excited, but he can talk about the Bungie stuff at great length. So let's do that. Bungie let go 220 of their roles. They are being eliminated. That's 17% of the studio's workforce. I saw a handful of people also left at the same time. I don't know if those are counted in the 220 folk that were let go, but some of those people were very long time Bungie employees, like Luke Smith, who was kind of a figurehead in a lot of ways for that game. He had been there. Did he go from 1UP to Bungie?
He was journalist and joined at the end of Destiny 1, I think, and then took the reins of Destiny 2.
Jeez. Yeah, he had been there for a super long time and kind of rose through the ranks. I forgot what his latest title was, but it was one of the top dogs of Destiny.
He was creative director until he moved to another project.
Yeah. So, Rami, how do you take the news, especially with the final shape having just come out, the big finale to the 10-year journey that is Destiny 2, and now this is the second firing?
I mean, it's fucked. It's fucked. The whole thing is fucked. The whole thing, the whole industry is fucked. Honestly, like it's a mess. And it's it's one of the first time we've seen. Like you have to respect that at least. Like it's the first time we've seen somebody just sort of like openly say, yeah, we over-indexed on the growth after COVID. We hired too much. We got too ambitious, and we spent too much money. And like, who would have seen that one coming? But the thing that really the thing that really is sort of like remarkable about this one, I think that really speaks to the times, is the discussion that happened on Twitter afterwards, contrasting the layoff of 220 people with the amount of cars that the CEO has bought this last year.
Yeah.
A $2.2 million worth of cars.
Yeah.
And that, that's just really the industry right now. Like it's brutal. It doesn't matter whether you make a good game, a bad game, whether you make a well-received game or a poorly received game, whether it performs well or it doesn't perform well. Like ultimately, a few people making decisions fuck it up, and sometimes that's the CEO and sometimes it's the shareholders. But either way,
so I'm actually interested if you have any information on that, because I saw the claims of that. I saw that he spent $2.4 million on cars over the last 2 years. But where did the money come from? We don't have any indication of how much money he makes at the studio, and the only numbers I could find coming around was $600,000 a year, which more looks like to me you're dealing with a massive thing like this, firing a bunch of people, dudes doing a midlife crisis, buy a shitload of cars, right? Like, I've seen that happen and play out before, and it's shit. But I don't necessarily like the narrative that CEO is draining all the money, so we had to fire all these people. When you consider 200, that's the one that I saw on Twitter. That was the take, right?
No, they're not related statements, but it does show that right now 220 people are being let go, while CEOs are still getting massive amounts of money for effectively doing a really shit job.
Yeah,
like if I was programming,
I would say
Bungie
he's doing
and I
a
did
shit
it
job
poorly,
for sure.
Yeah. If I programmed as poorly as he ran the company, self-admittedly, because this it's in his own path for Bungie post. You read what he writes: over-index, grew too hard, too ambitious, too many projects, spread the studio too thin, too many things going on. Like that's all leadership.
Yep,
that's all him, right? Like responsibility travels up. That's how it should work.
Yeah, 100%. The problem that I run into is when people say like, "Oh, this amount of money was spent." It's like, where did you get the money? Was that investments? Was that stuff that came to fruition? We don't have any information on that. When I look at 220 jobs, especially when they're located in, Bungie's out of Bellevue here. Yeah, they're out of Bellevue, which is real. I live up in Washington too. That's an expensive area. That's really goddamn expensive. Yeah. And when you got 220 jobs there, let's say lowball it at $70K per job, and that's lowball for that.
That's very
You're
low.
Talking, yeah, that's super low. Even with lowball that hard, you're at $15.4 million a year in base pay before bonuses, before anything else that goes along with that. So, like, dude,
that's still a seventh of the jobs, right? Like the 2.2 million is still 1/7 of the jobs.
Yeah. If it was drained out of the pay, right?
Right.
That's
well, it was probably
that's the only problem that I have with it. I don't like going along with like social media angst on shit unless we know where that came from. And I'd like to know the dude's pay.
I think it's not really where it came from. The thing that people are upset about, right? The thing that people are angry about is that this dude could buy $2.2 million in cars.
Sure.
While the other people are out of a job, right?
That's the anger.
That's
for
the
me,
anger, and that's what.
Like I've been through so many different layoffs and shit. Like I was there when we did the first Blizzard 600. Like I've been through the process. I've seen the awful. I've been through it. So when I see this type of stuff, I don't really care about the optics on these types of things. I go, well, what's the actual stats? Where did the money go? Were they actually mismanaging it? Were they giving it to the CEO? Clearly, the CEO is going to be in trouble with this because he's mismanaging the business, where he's pushing them in bad initiatives. But like doing it in the money direction just seems like, I don't know. It just seems like an easy mad without actually having any substance, if that makes sense.
No, I think I mean I hear you. At the same time, the optics do matter.
Yeah, the optics.
The optics
right?
are awful.
rough
They're horrible
on
optics for sure. Yeah,
especially right now where it's like, again, 220 people, and it's 220 out of a job because they're also relocating 170 jobs. That makes for 450 people out of Bungie. That was like what 30% of Bungie.
The reason why I bring this up though. The most common narrative that I see is CEO should have taken pay cut to save those jobs. Oh, I don't think he's making $15 million a year, dude. That business couldn't absorb it. Yeah.
CEO shouldn't be CEOing the way he's CEOing.
Yeah.
That's the issue, right? Like
That's the issue. And that's why I'm like, the money is kind of irrelevant here. That's a weird direction to go, because then people are like, he should take a pay cut. It's like, you don't even know what he makes. This doesn't make sense. That's a huge cost already.
Yeah. I received that information on the totem pole of that he was bragging to employees 2 days before firing them about these cards.
Yeah, that's not great.
That's where all of this like vitriol from social media came from.
That's a move.
I don't even think is that like that is a problem, right? And the developer that told that story also pointed out like it wasn't a malicious thing, it wasn't a bragging thing per se. That story did get away from the original version of the story.
Yeah.
But the money thing is just like, I think a lot of people are just entirely done with the discrepancy between what somebody who's doing the work earns versus somebody who leads the company earns, right? And like that's the thing that's grading right now, and I think we're seeing that throughout the industry. Leadership has been failing industry-wide, right? Every major company is dealing with like either over-indexing, over-ambitious, projecting growth past COVID at COVID levels. Like it's nonsense. And then on top of that, and this is sort of going into economics, like the zero interest rate is like gone, like ZERP's gone. So getting money, getting investment is horrifying right now. And as Thor was pointing out, those people, that's millions of dollars, many millions of dollars a year, right? Like just to have a team. Yeah. So the industry is in a weird spot.
Yeah. Just for the people that we were talking about, the 220, low ball of 70,000, which is unlikely to be that low, would be 15.4 million. Then you're talking benefits, you're talking training, you're talking facilities, you're talking materials. You're looking at $20 to $30 million for all those employees on a per year basis. Like that's a lot of money. That's not a small amount. So like these types of numbers they're that level of astronomical where it's hard to even understand how much money that really is. It becomes worthless amounts of numbers, which is wild, So like when these types of layoffs happen, I understand why businesses do this, and it feels awful every time. There's no good ending when these types of situations happen, but that happens, right? And what I try to focus on more than anything else is support the people when they lose that, because the biggest issue that I see that comes out of that is people go, I'm worthless, instead of the business can't afford me. And it should be that second one.
Yeah. And it's that, but also survivorship bias, right? Like I have a lot of friends in Bungie, but like a lot of folks that didn't get laid off, their motivation, their feelings, like everything is destroyed because their team is gone, right? And they're the only one left, and they don't know why they're left. They don't know whether it's because they're good at stuff, or because they were cheap, or because they didn't push back.
Yeah.
Because, like everybody else is gone, they feel super guilty because that's their friends. Right, all out of a job, all potentially relocating because it's the games industry. So your next job might be in Texas, your next job might be on the other side of the country, it might be in Canada, right? If there is a next job, because right now there's very little jobs, so the whole thing is a fucking mess. Like clearly mismanagement again, and that's it's devastating. The whole thing is devastating.
No, there's actually a question I had. Speaking of mismanagement and stuff, I want to know, like, what is the path to, like, CEO, manager, whatever, like the higher up thing? Like, do they not deserve it when they're up there? Like, like, do most people not work their way up to get to CEO or something like that?
I mean, they do. I mean, for Pete, he was at Bungie back in early 2000s, I think. He was like he was a producer, I think, and he went from producer, he became a studio manager, he worked on Halo. I don't know if he worked on the first one, but I know for sure he worked on the second and third one. And then I think he went to Microsoft, stayed there, and then when Bungie left from there, I think he joined in.
Yeah, he joined in 2008 as the COO.
Yeah. So usually there's somebody who works on the production side very often. If it's a larger studio, at least, they come from the production side and sort of like move up, because production side is sort of more the business side of the games industry, right? So if you would really just like take the shortest cut version, you have like your creative team, which is the creative director, sort of sits at the top. And then under them, you have your studio leads, which might be your art lead, your programming lead, your engineering lead, your narrative lead, whatever. And then you have the production side, which is sort of the part that we don't really talk about in public all that much, because they're the people who do like color-coded spreadsheets. They really love Notion. They used to like Trello, and then they kind of didn't like Trello anymore. They complain about Jira. If you've never heard Jira, like
I was just gonna say Jira, dude.
Yeah, exactly.
Such a mess.
Very specifically, they're on the like. If you really want to do a shortcut, the creative side is like, should we make this game? And the other side is, can we make this game? Right. And so the people from that side sort of like rise up through doing the business and the economics and the hiring and all that stuff. They touch all those parts, and then they kind of make their way up. But when you get to CEO, I think one of the hardest things, and this is tough for a lot of people, even good people, is just leadership is hard. Like running something is hard. There's nobody to tell you whether you're doing right or wrong. The people around you are people that might have come from lots of money or might have lots of money, might look at money in a very different way, which is good. Again, like investors need to look at money in a different way than you and I do, right? Like that's just how that works. But sometimes they kind of lose touch with what they're doing, and that's where things get really, really spooky. And
it's one of the things that I really liked about Blizzard, actually, back in the day, was when Mike Morhaime was CEO, he had a policy called Email Mike. And he would also do a thing where he'd do QA for a day or CS for a day or things like that, specifically to fix that problem that you're talking about, which is he would go down and be like, I'm going to be a customer service representative today. I don't want you to fix anything for me. I don't want anything to get like changed at all. And he would go and do the job. And he's like, these pieces are shit. And then they would get fixed instantly. And they could be things that people in the department have been complaining about for months and months that just never made it up the chain and never got fixed. And he got to go down there and fix it for those people instantly. Being in touch with the rest of your company when you're in a position of leadership means you have to go in the trenches to do so. Yeah. And if you don't do that, you're going to fall out of touch. There's no way around it. The business moves too damn fast. And Email Mike, let us email him anytime if chain of command failed, which it did.
Yeah.
And being able to do that at any time was huge.
Mike was also kind of crazy. I remember emailing him as a community member in like 2010. It was around when Overwatch was starting. And I was a whiny community member. It was like, hey, you should really look into your community, and that should be, you know, the people that are getting first look at Overwatch, blah, 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 blah. Just a whiny email. I know Mike personally, but it was still a whiny email. The next day I'm at BlizzCon, and I'm meeting with the senior VP of like global PR or some shit about how they can work on this program. And I'm just like, why the fuck am I talking to you? Like, you don't care what I have to say at all. Like, well, Mike wanted me to speak with you about this, so I'm speaking. And it was like at lunch in the hotel lobby at the Hilton. And I was like, this is crazy. Like, absolutely insane.
It's one of the reasons I like DJ Clancy here on Twitch as well, because when he first started, it was like, you're out of touch. And he's like, am I wrong? Is it the children who are wrong? And he was like, no, I'm actually out of touch. And he was like, I'm going to go stream. And he didn't stream like a CEO. He didn't stream like, oh, everyone white glove now. Go fix my stream for me. He streamed on Starlink, and it looked like shit. Like,
sure.
It was horrible to watch, dude. It was awful. He didn't know how to handle hecklers. He didn't know how to ban people. He didn't know how to do anything. And now he streams all the time. He does it all himself. He applied for partnership and failed the first time, which was hilarious to watch.
Amazing.
And like, by dogfooding like that, by going down and actually using the platform's getting objectively better. The only way that I think that upper management actually succeeds is by cutting through the red tape and actually getting down and using the products and services that they're selling as a company and engaging in the jobs that they're giving to other people. It's the best way to do it, man.
I think is that the only thing so I train a lot of producers nowadays and a lot of people in sort of like leadership roles, especially for indies that are growing, right? A lot of studios are going from 4 people to like 12, 20, 25, 60. That's a really tough change. You've changed from like being a bunch of creative people in a room that know each other to having a team and having responsibilities. And the one thing about the red tape is there's a reason there's red tape, right? Like there's a reason we build structures. It's because they're dependable. We understand how they work. The thing that backfires on people is then when you go fix stuff at the bottom and you don't fix the actual red tape, right? You need to fix the process. That's where things. So very often when CEOs or leadership people, they go in, they do the job for a day, like, this is awful, let's fix this specific thing. but they don't go look at like, why didn't that thing make it up the chain far enough to get fixed without me, right? And so now the company remains dependent on the CEO going down and actually doing the work for a day before shit gets fixed, which is super demoralizing for everybody. It's like, okay, I guess this is a problem. We might as well shut the fuck up about it until the dude comes down again. Like, until God comes down to earth, we shall suffer, and it'll be, you know. So it's one of those things. Like, it's leadership is hard everywhere, but like this is just mismanagement. This is like the one job a CEO should do, is like they should hold that 5 to 10 year vision, right? And like move the company in a direction. And unless the direction here was like go bankrupt, I don't know why the fuck they were moving in that direction. Like, Bungie was stable, it was doing well. Yeah, sure, there's rumors that they were selling less and less, but that shouldn't lead to like 220 people getting laid off out of nowhere. That should have led to some strategic changes in that. Not like booting up 4 other projects. 4.
Yeah.
With the salary raise that Thor is talking about. Like, listen, if you set up a team like that in a place where the economy allows you to set up a team like that, like quickly at like a nice rate, but in Bellevue?
No, dude, it's not. You can't do it. That's the most expensive part of Washington. Like, I don't live in Bellevue. That's insane. It's so expensive. They're just throwing money away. Wild.
So with all that, Rami, you look at Destiny now, and like, what do you?
I cried.
Well, where does what is the future of that game? Right, like they've kind of soft announced some of the small things that they're doing, and you know,
listen,
are people bailing?
Final
is this the time to get out?
But Destiny has been dying since 2014. Like every week, people tell me that it's dying.
Right.
It is and it isn't. Right. Like every game dies eventually. It will. Like there will be a date where there's just not enough Destiny or not enough players to keep Destiny going. I don't think we're anywhere close. What I will say is they can't keep making the game that they've been making right now. Like what they're doing is unsustainable. They need a different direction. I don't like the direction that's being discussed right now because it sounds a lot more like grindy.
Yeah.
But I get it. Like, I get something needs to happen, and I am very upset at the people that made it so that this needs to happen. And that's, goes down to, at the moment, one person. But, you think about the timelines on this stuff. Like, most of the stuff that's coming out over the next, like, at least 3 to 9 months is already in production, is already underway, is going to get triaged. They're going to make some adjustment, but it's overwhelmingly going to come out the way they expect it to. So we'll start feeling it in a year. Just like last year when I told you the industry was going to go to shit.
Yeah, sure.
It takes a year.
Ships take a while to turn. Yeah.
Yeah. So they also take a time to sink in the games industry. It goes real fast, but like
when it happens, it's fast. But yeah,
up until that point, they'll keep making Destiny, and I know the teams there, they care. Like they really want this to continue, and that's why the industry is such a shit show. Is we all care so fucking much. We care so much. We just want to ship good games, y'all. Like that's it. Nobody's here for the money. Like
I think that's one of the really difficult things is like working in games is, and one of the things I've tried to fix since becoming a larger streamer and been streaming on this platform forever, and I've just been saying the same shit, is devs are just people, man. Like we're making video games. Shit is hard. It is difficult to do. You make things and people will just go, I could do that in a weekend. You're a piece of shit. And like, it's like, dude, I spent like 9 months building that, whatever it was. I spent 5 weeks making 12 seconds of your game for this cutscene.
So crazy.
And then the player's like, it's shit. It's like,
dude, I gotta tell you,
I've never done that as a streamer. I've never done that before, Thor and Rami. That's never happened.
Never happened
from
to
the
you,
other
right?
end, from the streamer end of that. I started like that. I started like every time something was bad in the game, I would call it out and just be so like negative and mean about it. Like, what the fuck are you thinking? How you do this code is blah 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 blah. And over time, I've been like, making games is hard because I know people who make games and they're good people. They're the salt of the earth. We should not be insulting them.
Oh, yeah.
I think the other thing about games is the wildest thing about games is intuitively, your intuition on what is hard is 100% backwards. So you go like, here's a scene, and there's like 150 helicopters crashing. They're all falling from the sky, and it's like an EMP shockwave. Give me 15 minutes.
Yep.
Right? I'll instance the helicopter like 20 times. I'll have like an effect go across the set. Easy shit. Like, I got this. If it's set up right, we're done. Getting somebody to pull a shirt up like what I just did, give me like a few $100,000, a team that can do proper cloth simulation, like some VFX artists,
Mocap suit.
Yeah, mocap suits. Like,
Yeah.
I need this shit. Like, I need to give me money. Handshake?
Yep.
We're gonna move the camera up right before that shit out. We ain't touching.
You're not going to see the hands. You're just going to see the forearms. And that's
The
it.
hands are just going to do one of these, like into each other kind of shit. It's going to look like AI, dude. It's a mess.
So what you're saying, Rami, and I think you've had this statement before, but if we zoomed every game out 20%, it would just look like shit.
We'd be fucked.
We hide so much shit around the outside of the screen. We hide so much shit behind like walls and stuff like that. Like that's why there's so many games where you like boundary break and you're like, what the hell is this? And like everything just looks like shit. And it's like, yeah, we hid it in there. You know, it's like putting it under the rug. No one will ever see it.
If you want to know like a basic level of this, a level of this that they're talking about that totally rang true with me, watch. I watch a lot of speedruns, GDQ, that kind of stuff, and Mario Maker. The people who make Mario Maker, they showed at the last GDQ, they showed like, look at this square room. In order to make this fucking square room do the cool, tricky magic things that you saw, they actually did that. They zoomed out and they showed all like the munchers and like the lines and all this shit they had to do. The zoom out version was 2 to 3 times as big as the room that you were in to show you the thing that's magic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds about right.
That's game development, right? And like we get really good at doing tricks with that. Like, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, but like mirrors. If you ever want to make a game developer laugh, ask about mirrors, right? Like, because it's just the dumbest shit we do to not have to render mirrors. Because it was very hard until recently, and a lot of people still use those tricks.
My
you
favorite
said that,
in
and
2D
I play a lot of. Sorry, I play a lot of old games.
Looking for it.
And I play. I'm sorry to interrupt you. I hate when I do that.
You're good, dude.
But every time I play an old game now, and I go back and I see, I'm walking by and I'm like, the mirror's not blurry or muddy or whatever broken. And I walk by and it's like an actual mirror. I'm like, that's another fucking game back there.
Yeah, it's just a
I didn't want to animate a mirror in Heartbound. So what I did was when you get close to it, there's just the version of the main character that like fades in, but he's got a beard on. So it's a beard mirror, and like that's the only thing that it does. And like I didn't want to animate it, I didn't want to do anything like that, any hidden room behind it. It's just like it fades in when you get close to it. So it's a magic mirror that puts a beard on you, and now I don't have to do any of that.
See, but it's
nothing needed.
You know, as a gamer, I'll see that and be like, "Oh, that's really cute. That's a great idea. It's the beard mirror. That's fantastic." And then it'll get memed on, and it'll be huge. It's a big deal.
Well,
big deal.
The amount of times really good shit in games happens because we're too lazy to do the actual way of doing it is phenomenal. And often it's the shit that people call out as like really good, and we're like, I did that because I didn't want to program it. Like, I don't know, like I did not feel like that, so we did it that way. Games and
I wonder how many like genius things you see in video games were just a result of necessity being the mother of invention. Like, I can't do this with the code I have, so I have to do something else. And it becomes like this brilliant thing that you didn't even know was going to happen. And gamers are like, oh my God, remember that moment?
Dude, all of World of Warcraft works exactly that way. So any spell from any boss, anything like that, they're invisible rabbits and invisible elementals that are casting abilities off of themselves. We basically used all of those units like object-oriented programming. It's wild to see how many invisible units run the World of Warcraft. It's absurd. Yeah.
I'm doing a game now where I'm working on a game where the only way the way we wrote the targeting code for attacks is only at an enemy. And we decided we wanted to have a thing where you could target. So we now have a targeting reticule, and when you click, it spawns an invisible enemy there so that the bullet can just go there without changing the targeting code. It's like, we'll just spawn a dude with 0 HP. He's invisible. Like, bam, dead. Okay, we're good. Nobody will ever know.
I don't know if they've switched it now, but when you used to cast Blizzard, like the actual spell Blizzard, it was an invisible elemental casting Blizzard on his location, so you could get the location data of where Blizzard should be cast.
where like the... So the green circle was just an AOE of a.
The green circle was a little guy. He's like,
Yeah,
that was
that
it.
checks out. That checks out. Yeah,
Just an invisible little guy, you know.
that makes sense.
Yeah, the first taste I got of this, I think, or one of the first tastes, I'm sure a lot of people got of this, was when they showed like how the trains go in what was Silent Hill or Resident Evil, and it was just a dude with a train head, right? And he's running along.
Yeah, Fallout. Yeah. I mean, but to really to sort of like drive this home, have you ever thought about how you generate a random number on a computer? Like just ever? Like have you taken like a moment to think about how does a computer come up with a random number?
I have, but I have to do it.
It's really hard. Computers can't
Yeah, it is.
inherently do random. It's not a thing. Like they can't go like, oh, just make up a number.
The closest we
not
can
how
do
that
is
works.
just re-roll the seed, so it's more ridiculous, but it's still reversible and no matter what, anytime. Yeah.
So we actually cannot do random numbers. We just use the clock of the computer, or like, and so if you really want random, there's a service that will provide you like a number based on the background radiation of the universe. It's like the most random thing you can
Sources
possibly.
of entropy.
Just like,
I think it's
So-
Cloudflare does that with a whole bunch of lava lamps is what they do.
Yep.
Yeah, it's getting sources of entropy, randomized physical objects to get entropy in games or in services. It's pretty wild.
So when we want to do random, if you want specific types of random, there will be programmers arguing about how to implement the random for weeks. Because we need to make sure that it is, we can roll it back. You want to do a replay camera? Well, now it can't be random. Things need to play in the same order, in the same way, because if they play differently, then the replay won't work anymore. So if we're making a replay system, everything needs to happen in the same way at the same time. So they can't be off by a second, even a millisecond, right? They have to go in the same order every time. So now we're arguing for like 3-4 weeks, just going like, okay, so we can't do it this way. What about this? Well, how do we save that data? How do we roll that back? Does we play that back? Will there be differences if it's on 2 different computers? If there's lag between the computers? So that's what's hard for us. Coming up with a random number is really fucking hard. Explosions, very straightforward. Like that's not weird. We got this, right? So game development is just super, super counterintuitive. Like everything that seems easy is hard, and everything that seems hard is easy. Like it's wild.
So
It's even weird shit too, like the expectations of the player. Like, have you ever had a light go over you in a video game, and that light goes like, whoa? Lights don't
Like
do
the-
that in
the
real life.
noise, you
But if
mean?
it doesn't have that sound in the game, it feels weird. It's like weird shit like that. Yeah.
A sword, shing.
Yeah,
No
don't do
sword
that.
makes it shing.
Look,
Like, what
okay,
does
Don't do that.
Yeah.
But if it's gone, it
just
feels weird.
you brought up a very, very a question that I've had for a while now. Oh God, now I lost it. Oh, what was it? It was no. You guys were talking about sounds in video games, talking about going past a light. It's gone. Fuck.
gone.
It was my ADHD brain.
It's out.
Fast as a
No,
light in the night.
honestly, I had the question, and then you went shing, and I was like, "Oh, let me picture a sword in my head, and picture a Foley artist doing that on a sword, like
Yeah.
with a metal bar, and like a shing."
Oh, yeah.
And then it was gone because my
Well,
brain works like that.
Well,
Sorry.
it happens. It happens to the
But
best
player
of us.
expectations are huge, right? Like the way
Yeah, they
the way people perceive systems really change. Because this is another thing that game developers think a lot about, right? Like, because it's not just what we program; it's also how it's perceived. So, the mirror thing that Thor was talking about is awesome because for the player that works. So it doesn't matter that it's not technically correct; they believe it, right? But we mess around with that all the time. Like that's genuinely just sort of one of the hobbies of a game developer is like work with those expectations and then either work with them or against them, because that's what really makes a game fun. But a large part of that is in what we communicate. So a lot of what happens in a game we're not communicating. We don't have to tell the player. But like if you take a boss fight, take a Dark Souls boss fight, right? Take a Dark Souls boss fight. You have the boss fight or any boss fight with a health bar. Would you play that boss fight differently if the boss did not have a health bar?
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You would.
That's
That would be a
that's
completely different
big
fight.
thing.
There would
And
be
the
more
tension is at different
victories.
moments too, because you wouldn't know when you were about to win. You wouldn't get
Exactly.
stressed out at the moment of winning, but you also might feel negatively because you don't feel like you're making any progress.
Right.
That's the other thing that comes out of that.
So
It's kind
whether
of
we put
Monster
a health
Hunter.
bar
Yeah.
or not, Yeah, it doesn't change the game mechanically. It's the exact same game mechanics-wise, but because we communicate differently, it's a completely different video game. So we're just sitting there figuring all this shit out, and then somebody on the internet goes like, "Why didn't you balance the gun 2% better?" And they always, you know, like the hard rule with balance is if everybody's pissed off, you did a good game. Right? That's how you balance well. If everybody's saying their gun is better,
if that's where the argument is, gotcha. Yeah. I would agree
everybody's
with that,
like, my class is underpowered. If everybody's saying that, you did a good game.
That's the old adage about compromise. If both sides leave unsatisfied, then that's a good compromise.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Makes a lot of sense.
If you have like 11, if you have 12 classes in your game and 11 people are arguing, you fucked up your balance.
Yeah, because
nobody's
one
arguing about the 12.
One guy's happy, and that guy's way too strong, no matter what.
Yep.
Yeah.
I remember the thing I forgot.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Yeah, let's bring it up.
When you were talking about stuff in games, I've always had a question about like things like head bob and motion blur and shit like that like maybe it's just because I've been on this platform too long, but like it's shit people turn off every time, like almost to a person. It's like motion blur, get it out of here, and head bob, we don't want it, that kind of stuff. Why is it consistently like put into games still?
Some people do like it, but to be honest with you, I wish it was defaulted off. I wish it was more of an opt-in, because you're right. I do turn that off. But the reason that I turn it off is because I get motion sick from it. But I don't, like, that's not everybody does that. I also turn it off because people in the audience can get motion sick from it. It can be a detriment to people who are watching, right? Right. And that ends up being like a community problem for that. But usually what you want to see is you see the developers trying to put the game forward in the most beautiful way they can, and keeping all those options on does that, right?
Is that what it is?
Even if you end up turning it off. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a showcasing thing.
Because like head bob, like motion blur is not really bothered me, but I turn it off obviously for my audience. But like the head bob thing has always bothered me. Like when I'm walking and my head, my view is going like this, because I do that normally, but my brain corrects it. You know, my brain corrects it for my eyes. So I don't feel that when I'm walking. So I don't want to feel that in an FPS game. And that was my question. Like something that's always been there, but like, why?
It's really funny because it's really old. Head bob is really old. You can go all the way back to like Doom and like Wolf, and they had head bob, right?
Yeah,
like, but it was a far larger wave. Like if you take that wave, it was very like, instead of like nowadays, it's like every step. Yeah, like, I turn it off most of the time as well.
You walk like a horse gallop now. It's weird. Yeah. It's way harsher of a wave.
Yeah.
And motion blur did have an actual motion blur did have an advantage back in the days. It allowed us to smooth out a little bit of the graphic stuff. Like, so it was just this was an easier way of rendering, and we just kept it because it became aesthetic, and now it's becoming less aesthetic. The same way there's a lot of effects nowadays where you're like, do we really like that? You know, like everything has to look like Call of Duty nowadays. Like, I don't know, like color grading does no longer exist. It's a wild thing. But it's just like, that's the aesthetic right now. And I like where indie games are right now. We got like cute pixel RPGs and like PlayStation 2 level 3D. Like, that's a great fucking aesthetic as far as I'm concerned. I'm all for it.
See, and it's moved from like the nostalgia. Obviously, nostalgia moves, and it's like, I think it's like 20 something years or something, like for nostalgia to eventually to kick in. And now it's like onto the PlayStation. I was like, yeah, Super Nintendo graphics. I love the Super Nintendo graphics. That era was just awesome. And then everybody's like falling in love with PS1, PS2 now. And you see tons of indie games, and I fucking hated it. I hated that era of graphics. It was not for me, but you see it all over the place. I'm like, and that's what I get suggested all the time for indie days. It's like, here's all these games. And I'm like, God, there's PS1 graphics. It's just,
honestly, you know, there's a setting that I wish was off, and it's not even graphically related. It's when I enter any game and it has the automatic voice on system for local voice.
Yeah.
I hate that shit. Like the moment I get into a game and like this will happen, you'll jump into a game and like you're talking, you don't realize, because you're on stream or something, you don't realize that you're talking in the game because there's no in-game like visual indicator, and a dude comes up and just starts shouting horrible obscenities at you, and you're like, I didn't even know that this was on. Why is this defaulted as a basic thing on? That should never be like that. I always think those should be opt-ins. Always.
I agree.
Or at least be push to talk or off by default.
Yep.
Or just ask.
Well,
just ask.
Do you think?
Yeah,
So
you want this on?
most I would
You know?
I would be interested to see, and no one's gonna go read the EULA, but do you think that most games you would play, Thor, that have voice on make you agree to some EULA before you boot or enter the actual game that says your voice will be broadcast automatically into a voice chat, and that's why they exist?
No, I've never seen it where it says it'll do it automatically.
Automatically, okay.
Usually the TOS is in regards to if you have your voice on, we have the right to collect that in case
Got
of
it.
law
Okay.
enforcement actions, things like that. Because if you say something like a death threat or something and they need to follow up on it, they need to store that data. It's normal shit.
Yeah.
So like I've never seen it where it's like we have the right to turn it on automatically. That just seems like an oversight to me more than anything else. But yeah, it's not even a problem for just streamers either. It's also a problem for I'll give you an example. Sometimes people will jump into our Discord and they don't realize that their voice is on. And there was a thing, I think it was like last year, the dude started reading out his bank card details because he was on the phone with his bank. He didn't realize his like call was on. Imagine jumping to a game, not realizing that you have local voice on, and then you start doing something private like that, and now it's in the game, right? So like that's where we have this problem. It's not just a streamer issue.
Yeah.
And also, people in the audience were saying another one, like by default, have your volume at if it's out of 10, 5 to 7, maybe 8.
Yeah. After the intro
default
logo.
volume, default
After
when you
the
boot up
intro
the game.
Yeah, after intro.
Yeah.
logo.
Yeah, but the logos are 14.
Yes, the logos
You
have
got
to
to
be
deafen the player. That's important.
super loud.
Process.
Have to be super loud.
Yeah.
And also, really, really important, whatever your logo is should be on a bright white screen.
Yeah.
God,
Right? That's important.
It's funny
You
that
gotta have,
Elden
like,
Ring
just, like,
fixed that,
Flashback.
but then Final Fantasy 14 went from all black to now
Unfixed
all
that.
white. Like there's always one developer that starts all white, and fuck you.
Dude, even Minecraft does that. They have an all red screen when you sign in, and you have to go into like monochrome mode to get rid of it.
Oh,
Changes
that's
it to
true.
black. It's like,
Yeah.
oh, God damn it. It's just 255 red, dude.
Yeah,
It's a mess.
yeah. There's
I'd be
great.
interested to
That's
see
great.
like how many people like in the world that know about dark mode. I'm exiting the people who are ignorant of dark mode, of anything, of any website, anywhere. How many people that know of dark mode choose not to use it? Because I would say it's a drastic, like, majority of people who use dark mode when it's available. Wouldn't you, or not?
probably.
So I found in talking to players about this that some players prefer light mode over dark mode in the cases where they have dyslexia. And I don't know what the mechanism for that is, but there are reading issues sometimes with dark mode where it's the white on dark, and I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I have run into that in the past where there's a legitimate reason, and it's because they can't read like under those situations, you know.
So really what we should do instead is just flash between the two rapidly, right? That'll
That
do
makes
it.
yeah, it's a good idea. I love that.
Absolutely.
Just a good,
just
just
a
a good, like
The,
Zeke was saying, just a compromise where neither party is happy.
Yeah, there
We
go.
all hate this.
The
And I
newest
just-
Marvel trailer for the Captain America movie did white, black, white, black, white, black, and it had like letters in the center, and it made you focus on the background of what's happening in the scene. But man, if you're not ready for that shit, it hurts. Like it's really bad,
It's
especially
dangerous.
in theater.
You should. We have rules for that, right? There's
Yeah,
rules
it's-
of pro.
it's true.
Like there's like how much time can there be flashing lights? How often? Like what color? Some colors are worse. Some colors are like these are things we actually worry about. Which again, that's the shit that game developers are worried about. Not about the pistol being 0.2% less than you think because you keep getting wrecked
right.
in your PvP mode. That's what people yell at us about.
That's true.
What we are actually doing is we're trying to make sure that a thing doesn't fall apart because it's held together with duct tape. And if we did the fucking fix, the game would be unplayable for 6 months straight.
So to bring it back,
But
to bring this back to Bungie, one, make sure your mics aren't always on in Destiny. Bungie, this will get you some players back. You can make some more money. 2, don't do the seizure flashes. 3, turn off motion blur by default. And I think that's it. I think we just saved Destiny, guys. We can hire back the folks that were let go and get them back on
JP,
board.
you've got $20 million. We just get them back for a year.
Yeah. I've been doing this for... I mean, every streamer makes over $1 million a year, so I've been doing this 14, 15 years. But I got enough.
Yeah, see? You can almost...
Do I got to throw in a cool meal?
Yeah,
'Cause
Zeke, if you want to throw in just a couple mil, we'll be
All
fine.
right. All right.
We'll get him back on.
Uh,
Jesus Christ.
I've heard you can buy some cars.
It's true. I'm going to actually hit up. I was actually pretty excited when Parsons was talking about his cars. So I DM'd him and showed him all my cars and said, if you want to come down and check them all out, we could trade car stories.
I have one car. It's a hybrid. The windshield is broken and the back bumper has been smashed in because someone hit me in the parking lot the other day. It's great. It's fantastic.
Fantastic. There you go.
Anyway, now, JP, now you read out all that stuff. No flashing. No. Can we talk about EDF? Because that game does all of them wrong.
We'll get to EDF.
Straight
You're
up.
jumping the gun. We got news. We got
I'm
news
so
to get
excited
through.
to talk about EDF.
I know you are.
Okay.
We will talk EDF. We still have 2 hours.
Calm
left
down,
of the
nerd.
show.
Calm down, nerd.
Calm down, nerd.
Fuck.
Jesus. This one's actually. I'll throw this right back to Thor and Rami to talk about. Miyazaki was interviewed by The Guardian, and he was talking about Elden Ring, and he said, "quote It's a turning point for From Software." And said where From Software is right now in terms of scale, I would say Elden Ring is really the limit. We've tapped every resource and talent that we have access to. Scaling it even bigger, I'd have my concerns. He says that essentially they will most likely go to make multiple, quote, smaller games as the, quote, next stage.
Can someone clip that what Rami just did? I want to make it a GIF. I'd use it all the time.
I missed it because I was reading a full screen report. Was that good or bad?
Just put up his glasses, rubbed his eyes, and then just put his strength like this. It was so good.
So here's the thing, right? In 2010, there was this famous moment in games, or 2011, where an independent developer by the name of Phil Fish said that Japanese games were not in a good spot.
Right. Okay.
And I'll be honest, he said it undiplomatically because he wasn't good at being in the spotlight, but he wasn't wrong. Right. Now it's utterly inverted. Right. The way Japan runs its game studios is superior to what we're doing in many ways. Because he is correct. The fucker is correct.
Yeah.
Why would you go bigger than Elden Ring? What the fuck would be like? Why would you try and do that twice? Do one, it'll sell well, everybody will love you. Do something smaller, a little less risk, a little more careful. Build up some stamina to take a big risk again, maybe 2 or 3 games later. That's how you run a video game studio.
And you know what happens when you do that? You don't have to fire a bunch of people.
And so you keep the talent, and because you keep the talent, you can make a game like Elden Ring in half the time that you would need if you want to train everybody. Because you know how hard it is to get a team to work in the same direction and to understand each other? Have you ever tried to get an artist and a programmer to talk to each other? It is funny. It is hard. It's a mess. Just getting them to agree on shit is a fucking mess. So if every time half your team that way and half your team that way goes, all the new people come in, every studio does this differently. There's no hard rule. We don't even agree what a producer is.
Dude, it's even worse than that too, because a lot of the times people go, "Oh, they fired all those positions." They'll, you go hire them back again, and you can have people, even in upper management, they'll be like, "Oh, we need to get 10 more artists." No, dude, you need the original 10 that you already had because they understood the entire IP, they understood the entire style. Now you have to train those people up on that style again, and it's not going to meet the same speed. It's not going to meet the same quality standards. Like, all of this is going to be different. And the same thing goes for programmers. The same thing goes for anybody doing, audio. Any of this is the same. So when you have these types of fluxes with this, dude, like it's a mess. I would much rather, after a major success, go and make something small, something safe, keep the same kick-ass team that we have because we already gel together, we already know how to do this, and make something really cool and really agile, and then just keep doing that until you make something big again. And now it's like, hey guys, we've done it. We're stable still. We have enough runway to do the big thing. You in? And then we do it,
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. It's funny how much that didn't I didn't realize that was the way to do it until I heard Sven talk from Larian talk about the idea of like training and how all these people that they've been working with for such a long time were the only way that like Baldur's Gate 3 was ever going to get made because they knew how to work with one another. And the idea of just like letting people go and then hiring more people when you staff up for another big project is the worst thing to do. It makes so much more sense when you hear that.
It's that, it's the tool set, it's the way people talk, it's the way they communicate, it's the way they understand each other. If I work with the teams that I've worked with and I go to my musician and say, hey, I need a little bit more like, a little bit more vibe, he knows what I mean. So we don't have to talk about that. We don't have to go and sit down and do 7 iterations of the thing before we get there. I just go to it, I listen to it, I'm like, it needs a little bit more of the vibe. And he's like, we had a brief where we talked about the game before, and he's like, you know what, I got you. He goes back, he does the thing, he comes back. I can do the proper way. I can sit down with him and point at the things I don't like. I can
you can have 10 meetings about it and spend a week on it.
It's just wasted time.
Yeah.
Or I can just keep working with the people I know who already know how I want the music delivered. They already know how it's going to get implemented. They already know how I work with my engine. They already know,
Yeah.
Right? So
you don't need a date. You just jump into bed.
Dude, it's Jesus.
It's the same thing just say
my musician. God damn, dude. It's the same when I'm working with my musician Stein. It's like Stein will drop some like sick music on me, and I'll get it, and Stein's like, "How you feeling about it?" I was like, "Feels slimy, man." And no one else is gonna know what the hell that means. And Stein's like, "I got you."
Yeah, he goes and adjusts the slimy meter.
Yeah, exactly. No one else knows what the hell that means, but Stein and I get it because we've been working together for 7 years, dude. Nah. That's how that, and you want that because it saves a shitload of time and a shitload of money. And to be real with you, I think it's one of the things a lot of people forget. Studio names don't make video games. The people inside of those teams do. And if you fire those people, you're not getting them back, and that game's never going to be the same. Never ever.
Yeah. I read that was 2 days ago, I guess, when the article came out. I'm not sure when the original interview was published with Miyazaki, but it was like one of those fist pump moments for me because it was like, fucking, let's go. He's not. This sucks for Bandai Namco to hear. Obviously, the shareholders at Bandai Namco are like, fuck, we're not gonna get another Elden Ring for another 10 years. But if From Software, they're like, that's the best thing that they could do. Is just. But
they will get another Elden Ring.
They will eventually.
Not soon, but they will.
Yeah, eventually.
The alternative is they'll get their share value from layoffs, because that's why the layoffs happen, right? It bumps your share value because you're lowering your cost. If you can't get your growth to keep up, you can lower your expenses and still get results. So that's why the layoffs happen. A lot of these studios are going to hire back the same people
eventually.
Or they're going to try
or staff up,
right.
or
they're going to make it
if they can.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be
point.
The
You've
same
also
people.
It's not even if you do manage to hire those people back, the human cost of that is so high that they're likely not going to be the same workers anymore.
Yeah.
You've pulled the rug out from under them emotionally, where they no longer trust the business.
Dude.
They're likely looking for some other place to work. That is, and it does happen. It does. But that, you destroy the team when you do it, no matter what.
Yeah. Some of the social media posts after all the Bungie stuff hit were just excruciating to read. Both from people that had been let go and also people that had their entire team let go. But as Rami was talking about, the survivor bias, where they were just I don't know what to do, because I gotta, I guess, rehire people, or I'm gonna be put in a different position, or I'm gonna do everything by myself, or
that's what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
that's what's gonna happen. The audio person is now the audio team.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right, because they let go of everybody except for and this is the actual thing in Bungie. I think the audio person just straight up said, my entire team is gone.
Yeah. That's who I was.
What do you think is going to happen? They're not going to. There's not anybody new. There's literally just one audio person now, and it's well, you do the music, you do the audio, you do the implementation, you make sure everything goes in there, and they'll work with some outsourcing to get some audio shit in. But it's not going to be the right file type. It's going to be the wrong bit rate. It's going to sound awful. It's not going to be the right thing. And so there's now one person doing all that. They'll burn out, and then
And for a game like Destiny, where I think the audio has been on point for so long, you're gonna fans, people that play that game are going to notice it immediately, and probably call it out.
Notice it 8 months from now. But yeah.
Well, right. Whenever the quote new stuff hits,
when that layer hits the public,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and also it has a general global effect, or within the community of you have a bunch of people who are talented, but they are not trusting you at all anymore. They're not trusting anybody, and that actually, I mean, that will affect like performance and like if people don't think their job is stable, they're gonna behave like it's not.
Yeah. Who knew? Who knew it affects? But yeah, you're totally right.
But there is one good thing happening now is the industry is pushing back a little, right? Like we've seen wall to wall like unionization at a number of game studios. Like that has never happened before. The games industry does not unionize. It has never unionized. It has never done anything like a union. Now we're starting to see that. Like people are just exhausted.
Yeah.
They're just really tired. They're done with this shit. And maybe that's good. Maybe that's what we need. Maybe this is always one of those weird arguments that I see, but like shit has to get real bad before people start to push back.
Yeah.
Shit got real bad. So they're starting to push back.
Yeah. I'm just
messing with chat. They finally figured out that my camera was flipped by you guys.
Yeah. No, I'm
They're
flipping
like, why
it
does
back.
he look weird?
I'm flipping it back. No. Chat, it's because the mic now just goes off to the void. Let's talk about
They were
it.
like, why does his hair look weird? What's going on?
It goes off to
You're
the
used
void.
to seeing me in a specific way.
Yeah.
And so when you flip the camera,
just put Zeke there so that it looks like Zeke's arm.
and then we move it closer over here, then it just looks great.
There we go.
See?
Now it's great. There we
Now
go.
it's great. Now it's fantastic.
Here, wait,
Now
wait.
it's great.
I'll fix it. Yeah, let me just go over here.
What is
Grab
happening?
this.
Uh-oh.
That's terrifying.
I don't know what's happening.
There we go. Now it's
Okay,
fine.
perfect.
Now you
Now
can see
we're
it.
yeah.
Spider-Man.
We don't have any
That's
problems.
better.
Yeah.
Now I'm
Great.
seeing.
Fantastic.
Wait, hold on. Let's do the labyrinth thing. One of us tells the truth, and one of us always lies.
Always lies.
That's going to play for like 5. Actually, no, our audience is very old. Never mind. That's going to play for a lot of people. It's going to play for a lot of people.
Here, I'll just say one word
Our
for the
audience is
older
really
people
old.
like me. Artax, Swamp. That's for you.
Okay.
That's for you.
Boom.
Or we could be the king of hearts or spades or whatever. Be like,
Oh, he'd have to marry. He's got to marry you. Yeah.
yeah, no, it's
Shit.
flipped.
That's true. That's true.
Sad chat is now good.
Let's move on with the another fantastic, very happy filled moment of news. Game Informer. The last. Is there another magazine, or is this the last one? Like, I think this is the last one.
Are Dungeon and Dragon magazines even out anymore? Is that
I
even a
don't
thing
know.
anymore?
I don't. Maybe
Because I used to get Dungeon and Dragon. They were two separate mags. I don't know if they're.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I remember Dragon magazine.
Yeah, Dungeon was another one.
PC. Well, PC Gamer's mostly online though. Do they still do a print?
You can tell that you're all not from. You can tell that all of you not from Europe. Edge is still around, isn't it?
True. No, Edge is. Yeah, Edge is. I would say Edge is the Game Informer of Europe. Does that make sense, Rami? Are you going to take offense to that?
He's got a face, dude.
I think
you messed up.
that's the Rami's offended face right there. I think that's what that is.
I'm gonna miss Game Informer.
Totally, yeah.
I am too.
It's been a staple. 33 years. They say it in the opening statement of that farewell. It's wild. This is I think if you've interacted, if you've ever been in a fucking GameStop, which 99% of us have at one point in our lives, you've seen a Game Informer. You've been asked to subscribe to a Game Informer and get it shipped to you because you bought some random game. Or you've had game announcements back before, the internet was kind of a big thing. This is Game Informer got a lot of the scoops pretty much all the time.
Now,
So-
Game Informer was Game Informer one of those magazines that shipped demo disc with it or no?
Maybe in the early days.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't even remember that.
Yeah.
'Cause those are the only ones I ever bought.
Yeah.
I remember all the weird merch items with Nintendo Power. That was fun.
Totally.
Weird little cards and things like that. I love that.
Well, even the covers, I think, of some of those old Nintendo Powers are just fantastic. Like all gold Zelda version, when I think Zelda 64 came out, all that stuff. It was fantastic. And Game Informer also had fantastic covers that they would always work with the developers on. And that was kind of a big deal, I think, more recently, whenever they would get a big reveal that had some online component to it of a video series or something like that. But Yeah, Game Informer is done, and they did in the most 2024 way of doing it. Literally came as a surprise to like every employee that I saw. They were locked out of their back end, and they weren't allowed to really save or take anything with them that they had worked on from the company. So
the part that pisses me off more than not going back to your desk is not being able to have that moment to network with the people that you've been working with the entire time.
Yeah, like the
And
Slack was shut down immediately or whatever. And
that's a big deal. That's a very, very big deal because that's how you get back on your feet quickly in this industry.
Yeah.
Losing those contacts like that is horrific. You may not even have access to like social media with those people. You may not have them on Facebook or Twitter or any of that kind of stuff. You have no other way of contacting them because you guys work together every day. It sucks, man.
Yeah.
It sucks bad.
Yeah, they blew up the site too, as Chad is pointing out now. Like, the site
it's gone.
It's gone.
It's done.
You can still find the results on Google. You can find the result on Google. It just links to the fucking message.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
If I seem angry this week, it's because I am.
No,
Yeah.
I mean this is bad. As someone who aspired throughout college to be a game journalist, like Game Informer was up there, is being the creme de la creme, the holy grail, as it were, and they just had like everything deleted.
I remember the first time I was in Game Informer.
Yeah,
It was like a big deal.
Big deal, sure.
Like my first time indiegames.com, my first time on Kotaku.com, my first time on Game Informer, like those were like milestones. And Game Informer was a big one because they were the serious ones. Indie Games was the indie people, and Kotaku was sort of like the weird shit back in the day. And then Game Informer was like, that was serious.
That was the money.
Like,
that was the real one. The
was
one
the
that
big
meant
leagues.
Yeah.
The New York Times of games.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. I guess.
Something like that. The New York Times of old.
You said Washington Post, whatever. You can just. I was just trying to pick a big newspaper. No one reads a fucking newspaper. Forgive me. So, do we know why like certain things that started off like magazines transition better? Did they not transition well enough into the internet age, or?
Well, they tried. I mean, I think the most recent thing they tried to do was some sort of like subscription Patreon-esque situation at Game Informer where you subscribe and get access to X content, blah blah blah. And that was, I want to say, barely even a year old, unless time passed faster than I think it did. But it was fairly recent that they tried that, and it seems like it didn't go very well. But ultimately, I think like game journalism at this point, it's so focused on the like breaking news aspect rather than like, opinion or anything like that. That just goes to content creators and YouTube type folk to have like brash opinions, that audience, as it were. But yeah.
Honestly, it pisses me off. Like, I really don't like where games journalism is now. And a lot of it, as you said, it is get to the press as quickly as possible so you can get those clicks, so you can actually get that money. And there's just shitloads of redactions that take place. There's shitloads of games that just get bashed on bad information. There's shitloads of devs that get thrown under the bus on bad information, and they have to retract it later. But the damage has already been done, because the way that the media works right now is people go and absorb that into their belief structure instantly.
Yeah.
And they repeat it online ad nauseum forever. They just keep doing this. And then because of that, it never dies, even if the story was incorrect, even if the story was wrong, or it was an opinion piece that people absorb as fact. And I hate the shit out of it. So seeing someone like Game Informer go down like this, dude, that's a detriment to all of us. 100%. Yeah. That's a detriment to the entire industry. It's a detriment to every player. And the problem is the only way you can monetize this shit now is if you are sensationalist, because we're running off ad revenue. How else are you going to monetize this? You can't. Ad revenue is the way to monetize these platforms now. And if you don't have the eyes because you're not being sensationalist, you're not drawing them all in, you don't have the money. It sucks.
Yeah.
There's a few efforts to do, right? Like, I mean, I've always been very impressed, and I know people always make fun of me for this, but I've always been very impressed with how IGN has managed to keep running. They have really good editorial, like they have super in-depth coverage. They really research some of their stuff. Like, I've rarely seen them have to go back on anything they've reported. But also, if you like the more indie style of doing it, things like Aftermath, right?
Is
Like
great,
Patreon, Patreon based, like writing, like they get the stuff because they can, right? And they're 4 great people that started that website. They report on all the shit that really hurts the industry as well, but they also will happily report shit that is just like a little painful, you know, where that's technically their job. The job of the Games Press is to hold us accountable as a games industry.
Right.
That's what they're there for. But to make things run, to make things walking, you get a lot of websites that kind of have to like walk the line between ad and journalist, and that's where shit gets a little iffy.
Yeah.
So
it's been really interesting to see people like Jeff Gersman talk about the idea of like content creators and streamers and kind of that whole thing happen and become almost a singular entity over the past like decade or two. I think he's got a really interesting look at all of that. That in a lot of ways I agree with as one side of that coin and him being the other side of it. But
speaking of IGN, sorry, go.
I was going to say, I think it's one of the interesting things about being a streamer is a lot of people will come to me and they're like, please show off my game. It's the only way that we're going to succeed. Right. And the thing that I always try to tell people is that's not true. It's not. What you should be doing is you should be focusing on your community more than anything, because those people are going to carry you, whether I have a good experience with your game or not. And if I show the game off to a whole bunch of people and it's not ready for that huge influx of people, it's going to leave a bad impression to a dramatically large amount of players.
True.
So like there's tons of times where like people will try to approach me for sponsorships and we just turn them down because I'm like, dude, you should be building a Discord. You should be talking to your players. You should have more of a community built up for this so that you can have a better connection with them, because right now there's no connection and there's nowhere for them to go to have that connection with you. So even if I did play it, you get a bunch of people that hit your Steam page and bounce because there's nowhere for them to run to. It is about that kind of connection if you're trying to sell games, man. And like it blows me away because streamers right now, whether it's in media or in advertising, are seen as this weird silver bullet that's just going to save it. And that's not the case. And that's speaking as a streamer, right? Like that's, you know, like it's wild to watch because like having to explain to them like, no, don't give me money. Go focus on this, you know, and that's, I think it's the more correct take on that stuff.
It is. It's hard though, right? Like game developers are generally not like you all. Like they tend to not be streamers. They're not good community builders. Like they want to, but they don't know how. And even if they can fix the game part, they don't have the reach part. So like it's that weird thing where like there is no right solution besides the long road. The long road is too expensive for too many people right now to survive. So game development is just hard. Like commercial game development is easier than ever, but commercial game development really hard. It's really hard. Like indies not easy. And then just seeing somebody like Thor stream and go like, he gets it. What if we can pay him money and he plays the game? And then you get you know that's the easy way of thinking. The amount of time, because I consult indie companies, the amount of time I ask indies like, what's your marketing strategy? And they say like live streamers. I'm like, that's not a marketing strategy. That's a word. That's what you just said, a word to me. That's not a strategy. Give me the strategy. And they're like, big streamers.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting that you say that, because I see it through a different lens of like so many streamers now, so many bigger streamers are like putting their name with a game and saying, hey, I'm a part of this team, or hey, I'm announcing that I'm working with this team, or, you know, hey, we made this game together and they're a producer on it type deal. And so that's kind of a route that folks are going now, I think, with content creators being attached to a game.
It's something to understand. When you do that, though, you're being judged by that content creator, not just the content of the game. Sure. And that is a double-edged sword, because if that dude did something stupid, got canceled, any of that kind of shit falls off, whatever, your game can die.
No,
it's not because your game's bad.
Yeah, there's no way to relate to this at all.
Zero example. Yeah. This is purely hypothetical.
Whatsoever.
Hypothetical. But like that's the risk with it. There's also another one too with influencer marketing kind of shit, right? Where you hire a guy to go and play your game, and let's say you have a linear RPG. It's a storyline driven one, right? And you have that dude go and play that game, and he plays the entire thing on stream. And the players have nothing left to discover, no new story left to find. It's fully spoiled for them. One of the things that I did was I played Outer Wilds on stream. And I told everyone in the community, I said, do not watch this stream if you haven't played this game. 2/3 of the audience fell off instantly. We lost like 8,000 people, just gone, right? And I was like, good, now we can play the game. And the reason why is because you can only play Outer Wilds once. And once it's played, it's done. And once you experience that, it's over. And I want people to play that game. So like there are other things that you have to think about if you're going that route for marketing and selling off your stuff. You have to think about it. And it's not just we throw it in front of a streamer, it's going to make $1 billion. Like it doesn't work that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it's funny that you mentioned that, JP, because I have that from the game development community. I'm seeing a lot of like streamers become attached to games.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah, I mean the elephant in the room is Cohh and PirateSoftware are both, I think, doing that.
Right. But there's people who come from development who end up streaming. There's people from streaming who end up involved in development. There's people from streaming who only attach their name to a game so that it has an opportunity of selling better.
Right.
That part I don't like at the moment, and I'm seeing a lot of that. I also have some thoughts about some streamers becoming publishers.
Mm-hmm.
Like similarly, I feel like that I don't know if I am entirely up for that. It gets a little iffy, right? Now you're both there's like financial incentive on the game side and on the stream side. That's a little that's too round. I don't like that circle, right? So it's that kind of situation where it's like, there's weird movement. We're trying to figure it out. Like the economy is weird. People have less money to spend.
Yeah.
Publishing is a big opportunity in games, and it's safer than game development. Publishing is safer than game development. Right, like you make a few bets, you have more money.
I think it can be if you are putting yourself out there and doing it in a way that is detrimental to the dev. I think it's safer. I think any type of publishing agreement you're going to be entering with a developer, there needs to be risk on both sides. And more often than not, I see publishing agreements where there is no risk on the side of the publisher.
Yeah.
There's recoup fees where the developer gets dramatically large risk. One of the problems I kept seeing was how shitty all of the publishing field was across the industry and how bad some of my friends had it. It's rough, dude. Like I have friends who make some of the like really well selling indie games. And one of the worst things that I ever got to hear was from the programmer on that team said, I used to make games and now I make money because he switched his job to Microsoft. It killed me, dude. Like that was the worst goddamn thing that I had heard. And it was just, it's rough as shit. So one of the things that I did, and it's funny because you were just talking about like influencers becoming publishers. I'm the director of strategy for Off-Brand Games now, which is a publisher, specifically because I don't want this to happen in our industry anymore. And the only way I could do that is like, okay, I could sit on Twitter and bitch about it, or I could do something about it. But I think you're right. I think there's a lot of cases where influencers will go and be like, streamers will be like, I'm going to go and be a publisher now so I can make a bunch more money. And it's like, no, dude, be a publisher because you want to fix shitty publishers out there. Like there's a reason for that. Make good games.
I mean, and like, be aware, right? Like, I have my own investment fund as well. Like, it's not like I'm not doing a thing where there's a circle. Like, that's if you want to fix things in this industry, money is going to get involved. Like, there's not really a way around it because that's how the industry works, right? But I think there is a really big difference between people who know the industry, who have been developers, who have worked on a game, versus a lot of streamers that are now just coming in and they're just like, hey, we know how to solve it. We'll publish good games. And it's
I got a bunch of viewers. It'll solve everything. I get it.
And like it backfires. It goes to shit. It's like a weird thing, and it's happened fairly consistently. And then the developers call me and they're like, hey, it turns out our influencer publisher doesn't actually know shit. Now what?
Yeah.
It's like, and they're not good deals. Like, I'll be really honest. Very often those deals, not very.
It's usually equity in the deal. I mean, I got
equity, like whatever. The developer gets no money, so there's no risk on the influencer / publisher side. Like it's crazy.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I have a short list of other publishers that I think are actually doing a really good job, and the ones that I think don't, I have seen deals as high as 70% to the publisher in perpetuity, which is like, holy shit, man. For shit like just localization support. And you're like, dude, you're giving 70, and they're like, yeah, so I can sell all around the world. I was like, yeah, to no dollars. Like, you'll make nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it's because you have to think about the Steam cut, then you have to think about the publisher cut, and then you have to think about paying your people, and you have to think about all the taxes they're in, dude. Like, you end up making less than minimum wage. Like, it's a mess. So, like, I think that's one of the biggest things. And even an off-brand, right? Like we've turned away so many different devs, and it's not because we couldn't get a deal there. It's because like, dude, this would just be parasitic. Like you don't need a publisher. You need to just make your game. You've got everything you need. You've got a community around you. Do it, right? And like I know that there's other publishers that are like, oh yeah, we'll do that 50%, you know, and like and I've seen it and it pisses me off like nothing you could believe.
I get developers who like take a deal with a publisher, they get $0 from the publisher, and the publisher takes 50% off the revenue. And I'm like, so you got nothing. The publisher doesn't have to do anything. They'll run one ad campaign, and if it doesn't go viral, they'll just stop.
Yeah.
They're done. They're like, oh well, that didn't make money, I guess. Well, bye. And then developer put 2.5 years of their life into that game, right? Like burn their cash, burn their friendships in some cases, burn their relationships. Like, you know, went way too hard on this.
A question about that I have is it standard practice that once you like agree to something with a publisher, like the publisher basically owns the game? Like you can't shop it around somewhere else?
Not always the case. So I'll give you one example. One of the things that we do, the first thing that I changed, because when they were trying to hire me on, they gave me I was like, you need to give me an example of your contract of what you would be giving to an indie dev before I even think about working for you. And they brought me the contract. They're like, and I was like, I would never sign this because it would take the rights to the game. And the way that we operate it now is we get a license to the rights to the work only in relation to doing our marketing activities or whatever services we allow for you for the duration of the contract. There are so many other publishers out there that take your rights forever. And it is horrifying, man. Like the moment that you lose your rights to the game, your game's not yours anymore. No matter how much heart and soul you've poured into it. And there's so many publishers that do that. It's awful, dude. It's super parasitic. And people don't realize and they sign it, it's over.
Well, the reason why I brought that up is because that was this like when you know, owning your masters as far as musicians go. Like no one ever owned their masters like for the longest time, right? And that's what I thought like it would just track that the games industry would be the same.
My musician still owns 100% of the rights to their music. I have a license to it as a studio. That's it.
Yeah. So the way it traditionally works, at least in indie games, is you have your publishing rights, but you also have your IP rights. They're separate sets of rights, right? So your IP rights are the rights to the IP, to the characters, to the world, to the names, to like stuff like that. The publisher gets the publishing rights, which is the right to exploit the game financially on any platform like Steam or Xbox or stuff like that. And so in the games industry a while ago, there was sort of like a push for like keep your IP, keep your IP, keep your IP. So developers got pickier about who they wanted to sign deals with. So a lot of publishers switched that to something called a right of first refusal, which is effectively if you sign with us for your next game or for a sequel or for a derivative work or for anything like a spin-off or anything like that, you have to negotiate with us first. And when we say we don't want to take the deal that you offer, then you can shop it around to other people. So that's kind of how it works nowadays for like 90% of indie budgets is like you keep your IP, but if you want to develop anything in that IP, you first have to go negotiate with the publisher who did the first one. And you know what? I think I would prefer right of first negotiation, which is a little different in that you don't have to wait for the publisher to say no. You can just say like, hey, we're going to do this. We just wanted to inform you. We can talk about it, but we're going to go shop it around as well. That's the preferred one.
Yeah.
But right of first refusal effectively means that you can't really shop your game around until the publisher says no, and they can usually take 2 to 3 months with that. So you're just sitting around burning cash, not being sure who's going to fund you. Because Astor was saying sometimes 100% revenue share, right? Like until the publisher gets their money back.
The full
so
recoup,
3 to 6 months. If your game is successful, the 3 to 6 months after your game comes out, you're making $0.
Yeah.
Nothing. Right. And if you don't have budget left because you were delayed or you overspent or like, you know, you wanted to spend some extra on like an event or like just put some extra polish on that game, then you're done. Even if the game is a hit, it takes 2 to 3 months for Steam to pay out. It takes a month for Steam to pay out, and then 2 to 3 months for the publisher to process and send that to you in many cases. So you could be 3 to 4 months without money coming in, even if your game is a monster hit.
Is Steam net 30? Are they that seems fast in terms of pay?
Steam is 30. Steam is 30 if I'm not mistaken.
It's every 30 days.
Because it's
every
30
month.
because that's their refund policy as well.
Oh,
I think there's
okay.
like it's like 14 days refund or something, or 30 days refund. They have to keep the money in case of a refund, and then after
I've always heard
that,
it's 1 month, 1 hour of playtime for refunds.
Yeah, they actually show all of your refunds and everything as well, broke down by region, so you can find out if there's like a localization issue or anything like that. You can see everything. It's
Oh, that's
wild.
cool.
2 hours.
Also, you can see the
analytics on the
2 weeks, 2 hours. That's what it was. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah. My
cool.
my favorite thing
Not that
about the
much.
page Thor is talking about actually is that you can also read what people put as their refund reason. It's fucking horrifying. If you ever want to feel bad about yourself, you had too good of a day, you just go to that page and bring you right down.
Streamers used to get a thing when people would stop their sub. You could put in why no one or why they had to stop their sub. We don't get that anymore, and I fucking kind of miss that. A lot of it was like really stupid and completely not helpful at all. But every once in a while, you get like a 1 or 2 comments are like, "Huh, that is kind
the
of."
only person who's rating that is us as the streamers, and every time it was like, "Streamer's a bitch," it's like, all right.
Now those weren't
Great.
helpful. Okay, like I can't do anything about that.
Yeah, that's great.
I would get shit like it's a pixel game, and I'm like, what? There's a trailer. There's like how did this go wrong? Like what went wrong? That you bought this game and then went like, fuck, I don't like it. Like the amount of reasons I would get were phenomenal. The amount of flipping around Thor is doing is amazing. Like, this is some should go to the athletics.
No,
yes.
on the subject of trailers, Rami, this happened just yesterday. Where I was like, man, this trailer looks good. I would be absolutely astounded if the game was nearly as good as the trailer was. And it wasn't. It was very bad. Like, it was like, or not very bad, but very
different.
Not what they sold me the sizzle and the steak wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's really funny because we train developers on that as well, right? Like if you make a really good trailer, the expectations for your game are going to be higher. So if your game is mediocre, make a mediocre fucking trailer.
Yep.
Like
I think my
way
favorite
better for your
trailer.
game.
My favorite trailer in the market right now is for a game called Witchfire. If you've seen that one.
Yeah.
And the reason why I love that trailer is because it is equal parts hype trailer and mechanics trailer. They walk through the entire game. They have a narrator saying exactly what's going on screen to give you the context for what's going on, and it looks hype as shit. But it's all the actual mechanics and the things that they've put into the game. It is probably the best example of like a honest trailer that I have seen where they're like, here's the thing we made, here's how it works, and here's a cool voice to tell you about it while it's going on. And I was like, that is a bitchin' trailer. Like, I love that, dude. And there's so many trailers out there
Is
that
the
are
voice
like
yours?
mobile trailers.
Just out of curiosity.
No, it's not. It's not mine.
That's where he's about to rug pull us
Unfortunately.
right there. He's going to let us know that.
Here comes the
me.
disclaimers.
Not me.
No.
Witchfire is good. I think there are other trailers out there. Like we see it a lot in the mobile space. With like, yeah, it's a puzzle game. You get into it, and it's like it's like a gotcha game. What the hell is this shit? It's complete false advertisement. That's the other end of the spectrum.
The mobile games are kind of crazy for that, right? Like, is it Ebony that had the like famous Super Bowl ad once upon a time where it was just super like a actress who at the time was in Ebony, that's what it is. Actress at the time who was like hitting her stride in Hollywood and was huge, and so they like put her in a ad about medieval princess gameplay thing, and then it's like, make sure. Oh yeah, Kate Upton, that's who it was. Yeah, Kate Upton was in the Ebony ad at the Super Bowl for like, I don't know, a minute. So however much money that translates to. And then they didn't show a single second of gameplay. It just said Ebony.
Yeah, if it's just a hype trailer, for me, I don't buy the game. Not even a little bit. Like, you need to show me gameplay, and that's it. That's the thing that I want to see, because you can hype me up anything you want. You can make a big, fantastic cinematic, but that doesn't mean shit to me as a player.
Yeah.
I need to see how that game plays. And not only that, most of the time I need to see how that game plays on different machines, not just the idealized version of that. Because it's going to, even if you've got like a 4090 in the box, some of those don't look like that when it comes out.
Sure. Yeah.
It doesn't run like that.
We
You
nowadays
think we're in the
also
minority or the majority? Like the people who would rather see gameplay or don't know that they want to see gameplay? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
I think it comes down to logical response versus emotional response. It's really easy to have an emotional response to a hype trailer. Insanely so. You're like, wow, that's so cool. Holy shit, I got to get that. And then you're like, the game's not even going to look like that, man. Like, calm down. That's the logical side of it. You're like, let's see the gameplay trailer. And I think it's really that, different response types.
Like the two thoughts. The first one was sort of like, streamer response, because it is really important to game development nowadays, is streamer response. We now have like specialized people who focus like UI and readability for streaming. Like second layer audiences. So not the person playing, but the people watching the person play. How do you make your game accessible for second layer audiences?
Yeah.
Which I think is phenomenal. Like, it's just such a funny, weird twist to the games industry that we're like, how do we make our game so that people watching the game will enjoy the game when somebody else is playing it? The other thing is, I think nowadays for trailers, we're very much at the like, do the sizzle for the emotional response. Like, hype trailers, start with the hype trailer, right? Like, just emotion or fantasy. This is what you're gonna get. Like, this is the feeling you're gonna get. Starry night, moon in the sky, you're a ninja. Here we go. Like, and then 2-3 months later, a little before release, like a month, 2 months before release, you do the gameplay trailer, and then at the end you do sort of like a combined sizzle gameplay trailer, and then you launch. That seems to get the best response.
That's why I like the Witch positive note so much. It's because it's like, the sizzle and the gameplay. But it's married very well.
6 or 7 every week for Indie Day, and what's becoming a trend on a positive note is that the first trailer is usually sizzle, second trailer is almost always gameplay. They usually have 2 trailers on their Steam page, which is awesome because I will watch like 15 to 20 seconds of the sizzle, be like, oh, okay, I see what you're going for, and then watch the entirety of the gameplay trailer to see what I'm actually getting into.
Yeah.
It's also just because we've realized that putting gameplay while the game is in development, which 6 months from release, your game is in fucking development. It ain't there yet. Like, there's parts of it that are there, but it might not be good yet.
People don't realize how quick that shit comes together at the end, man.
If it does.
If it does, it's a mess.
Yeah. It's really weird. It's like 3 months from launch, you might still be like, is this good? Does this work? Like, you have your prototypes early on, and those worked. Like,
you just gave me so much fucking anxiety because I actually thought about the idea of making a game and being like 3 months out from launch, you've put, 2 years of your life into that. And then you're just like, I hope they like it.
Dude,
you get back to work.
I hope the servers stay up. I hope the game works. Dude, even if they like it, if it doesn't run, they're gonna hate it, right? So then you're like, oh, I made a good game, but no one wants to play it because we failed the launch. Like,
fuck me.
And one step up from that, 2-3 months from launch, JP, you would still be thinking, I hope I'll like it.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you're not sure. Like, it might not be there yet. Like, you might have your RPG and your progression system and all that, but you've never put them together in a way where you're like, oh shit, it actually works.
Yeah.
Like,
the maybe even for me at least, the most fucked up part of that is I will say that, and then tomorrow on stream I will play a game and be like, this fucking thing sucks. What do we fucking do? Why would they fucking do that?
Imagine like 5 years of work, and then you're like, oh man, the first big streamer plays it, and you get on, and the guy's like, this is a piece of shit.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm like, that happens. I'm sure every single day on this website, on Twitch, every single day.
Yeah.
Someone plays a game for the first time, and a developer sees it, and they're just like,
it's always like the super important thing to me is like, if you're not gonna like something about a game, the way that I always try to do is like, hey, I don't like these specific things, and I'm going to give feedback to the devs. Yeah. I'm going to say I hate that shit, but I'm going to say why I hate it, not just like negative review, don't care. Like, none of that shit. Tell them what's wrong, tell them why this sucks for you as a player, and find out if you're in the minority. That's the other thing, too. You could have a bad experience, and that shit doesn't matter, because that kind of game just doesn't land with you as that type of player. That's fine.
I think Twitch chats have evolved, too, that at least a chat like mine where it's old enough and like really all of us here, I think, are mature enough to be able to be like, no, your opinion's actually kind of wrong. This is actually a good game and you just don't like it for whatever reason. Like, that's happened a ton of times on my stream before. And I'm thankful for that.
absolutely agree that I have become, in the last 11, 12 years of doing this, that I have become very good at specifying exactly why I don't like something. And I am also very keen on saying, not opinion based, but like, for me personally, it's like, I don't like PS1 retro graphics, and that's why I won't play this game.
Yeah.
It's not because it's necessarily bad. I will give reasons. Whereas usually, like, before that, I'd be just like, this game looks like garbage. That's why I'm not playing it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's my favorite thing though, is like you said you like taking feedback and everything like that. My favorite thing though is there's kind of two camps on that always. There's the streamer, you're wrong because of this, and here's a bunch of information for you. And then the other one just goes, wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong.
No, it's the
Wrong.
it's
Like,
the
that's
same
it.
exact
That's all
thing.
I do.
You're
And
totally
I'm like,
right.
and the second one is always like the person who just screams wrong incoherently is always the one that's completely incorrect.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
I mean,
very
The wrong
as an-
is the wrong crowd is the same crowd as like, so how would you do this? Well, God, get good. Like,
Yeah, it's the same.
I'm
It's the
gonna,
same shit.
yeah, I'm gonna find you in the alley.
The
and
game
fuck you.
didn't bug you, just shit at the game. And that's what it is.
However,
yeah, it's the same.
I will say there is times where that's actually the case.
Would that be when you're stuck in bronze?
That would be where you're stuck in bronze. Or it would be. It would be. Indeed.
It's
I
small
will
skill
much
issue.
rather. I will much rather watch somebody not like my game and like understand why they not like it than have
Not
people not
understand
give
why.
a shit, right? Like
Yeah, yeah.
that
Yeah, true.
I would much rather have people not like my game than not care about my game. But there is sort of like there is the specific type of stream where you're watching it and you're like, this is a bit.
Mm.
They just like being very negative about shit, and they picked this game specifically because they were gonna hate it and be able to convincingly hate it. Those I hate.
Definitely
I
a
fucking
form
hate
of
becoming
yeah.
somebody.
There's no reason for that.
I hate becoming somebody else's. I just
Like
I
punching
know it's
bag, yeah.
content, but like becoming somebody else's content is really weird. And as game developers, we kind of have to get used to it. Like we make a game for 3 years, then streamers make content out of it, and like it took us a while to be okay with that. You know, like
Yeah.
there was genuinely a fight about like copyright and stuff about this.
Yeah, hate play stuff. I
hate play stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
Hate
Gollum
play
is
stuff.
exactly like lived through that experience as someone who did a quote hate playthrough of it. And just while it was also just being crucified on the internet and all that information, is that Daedalic? I think that was the developers around
Yeah.
Gollum. Yeah.
Yeah.
I specifically didn't play that because I saw the amount of hate online, and I was like, I'm not going to add anything to this conversation. Like, there's no point to this.
Sure.
You know, this,
Well,
yeah. So it's not meaningful, you know, at that point. And it's like, everyone's already hating on this. There's nothing I can add. I also look at it and I go, I don't know about that shit. Probably not going to play that. Doesn't make sense.
Sure. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Makes sense.
That's always heartbreaking as well. Sometimes the developers do know the game is bad.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
You know, you've
No,
been working
I
on
know.
this for 2.5 years, and you're like a month from launch. You're like, well,
You got to put it
Dude,
out.
I know we launched Diablo 3. I was there. You know, like, I was there. We knew there were problems. We were speaking them from the rafters, telling everybody, like, hey, man, this shit is not ready. We need to cook more. And they launched it anyway. I remember the worst experience I ever had in the games industry was I was wearing a Diablo 3 shirt because I was in QA at the time, and I had a Diablo 3 dev shirt that they gave me. And I was walking through a Target, and this dude stopped me, and he was red in the face, and he screamed at me in the middle of a Target because I ruined his favorite game
Damn.
because of Error 37.
Yeah. Error 37.
That was the worst shit I ever had to deal with ever. I was like, dude, I'm in QA. I don't have any choices.
we know.
And he just stormed off, and I was like, Jesus, dude. And like, I never wore another piece of like work merch again, ever again.
Oh,
Wouldn't do it
man,
because I was
that's
like,
tragic.
I don't want to be associated with this shit because like, what's gonna happen, you know? And like, that shit blows me away. Is like how negative that can go and how bad it can go because people get like fighting mad when there's a problem with the game. You know, because some people they'll take time off from work, they'll set up a whole event, they invite buddies over so they can do that kind of shit, and then the game doesn't function, and you're like, we told them not to launch. You know, like what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
Sorry, my
and
brain
I'm sure,
is
like,
breaking a second because people in chat are legitimately asking what Error 37 is, and that like
oh, good. I don't know
I'm
either.
like, you don't.
I'm gonna say
well,
ask your parents.
That makes sense.
We're old
People
now.
in chat to say
Works.
that.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh God, they're so young
So,
that they
Error
don't know what
37
Error
was
37 is.
one of the largest failures in generic erroring that you could have. So generic error messages are always bad for the player. Like error 1012. Like player doesn't know what the hell that shit means. It should say like
Right.
this thing went wrong, right?
Right.
Error 37 was authentication servers are down. You can't connect. That's what it was supposed to mean, but it just says error 37. And players like, what the hell is error 37? I'm going to try logging in again.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when everybody gets logged out of the video game? They all try to log back in because your authentication servers are down, the one that handles the login. Well, they start DDoSing it accidentally because they're all trying to log in at the same time. Now you get a whole bunch of people F5ing their way in, all getting error 37 and getting angrier and angrier while screaming at you on the forums. It's great. That's why you don't do generic error messages. That shit needs to be descriptive every time.
Yeah.
Error 37 is classic.
Yeah.
The other class thing for error messaging was burning the poop, and it's still one of my favorite stories.
Where is what is that from?
This is an old programming story that teachers tell kids to teach them not to put curse words in error message for breakpoints. So if you run through code, sometimes if you're trying to debug, you want to figure out where the code is going. If you imagine code as sort of like a spider web coming from like a center point or like a flow chart, a waterfall, sometimes you need to go where the code is going to figure out where the error is. So sometimes what programmers will do is they'll put an error pop-up that just says something, and usually you're trying to figure out where it goes, so you put like 6 or 7 different error message. Especially when you're still starting to learn to program, you would use that strategy. But sometimes more veteran programs will do it because it's faster than the alternative. And so you could do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, or you could do fuck, shit, boop, 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 shit, boop, and then just see which one happens, right?
Sure.
And then you run the game, and then you get poop, poop, and you're like, that's where the fault is.
It was
right?
the poop poop, yes. I mean, it's
It
a
was
way
the
of
poop
like
poop.
de-stressing a little bit when it's like one of those stressful things, but like it's not a good play, man, because you forget one of those, that goes out public.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened. And this is the old
Ah.
story. So that got burned. Poop got burned onto the CD-ROM. Like,
What game was
it
this
like
for?
7,000 CDs? I don't remember.
Oh,
It's a story people tell, but like,
Okay.
it is one of
It's a
those that
mess.
everybody gets taught if you're doing programming classes nowadays. Is like, do not burn the poop. Like, you do not want to be the person who left a curse word in
Makes
the
sense.
thing.
Makes
Where people
sense.
run
It's a professionalism thing, is really what it comes down to. And the outcome of that is like, because the internet is the way that it is, that shit goes viral fast. Not in the good way, you know?
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah.
Oh, people even make fake ones of those now. Like I've been seeing that kind of shit all over the place, you know? So
Yeah.
like people make fake kind of stuff, and that still gains legs. So you definitely don't want a real one. Yeah.
For sure. Last bit of news that I have, then we could talk what
God,
we've
we're
been
still in the
playing.
news.
Yeah, just real quick. We have a lot of folks that are following this. If Cohh is here, I would definitely get his thoughts on it, because Avowed got delayed to February 18th, 2025. The messaging around this was not because of anything specifically wrong with the game. It was that they're making room for Game Pass stuff, which is kind of a
Making
newest,
room
like that
players?
Game Pass is too busy. Like there's too much stuff on Game Pass, and so they're pushing it out till.
Didn't they say it's like to give you time for your backlog or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Their exact statement is here from Xbox. It says, so many games
Yes.
coming. As such, we're moving Avowed to February 18th, 2025 to give players backlogs some breathing room.
Yeah.
To me, that seems like a weird way to say there's a bunch of cool games coming out. We don't want to compete, right? Like
It's really weird.
it's a weird way to say that, you know, like
Especially
other thing is,
given how Avowed has been critiqued, let's say, since it was first revealed. It makes you look at this and be like, really? Like, is that really? Is that what we're going to do?
it's a bit weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit weird.
It's weird.
Yeah.
It's also half the games on that list are like Xbox, their own internal studios. There's like Actually, most of this is now Xbox internal studios.
Well, yeah, it's all first party. Every single one is.
Yeah,
it says announced first
God,
party.
it's
Xbox
Oh, God,
games.
World of Warcraft is first party as well. Fuck.
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
it
It's
is.
all first party.
And
Yep.
Diablo
So
4. Yeah.
Their portfolio
It's all
issue
first
is
party.
we're making to schedule your portfolio better.
Yeah, this is
Bro.
two things. This is, oh man, there's so many games coming out. We're going to move this game, but likely also this game's not ready, but we need to come up with an excuse. And then like, look at all these other games that we're putting out that you could add to your backlog. You could do those instead. And we also own them. Would you like to do those?
Yeah, which
Like,
maybe
it
the
just seems gross.
it's maybe the first time that's ever been used as an excuse to push a game out.
Yeah, it's a bad excuse. Honestly, if you want to interface with players better, just say you're delaying it because you need quality improvements. Just be honest about it. Be like, the game's not ready. We're working on it.
Let me see if they say anything. Rami, what were you going to say? I'll read the article.
This is not new. This has happened very often. Like publishers, developers going, hey, we're delaying the game because there's just too much shit happening. It is new that it is all their own shit.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's what I mean
I've
when
never
I
seen
say
that
it's
happen
new. Yeah.
before.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
What is this? Like, oh no, we have too many games in development coming out at the same time. Yes. Y'all launch all your shit at the same time.
Yeah.
September to October and then to the end of year.
It's an internal scheduling failure is what that shit is.
Yeah. To be
It's
fair,
weird.
they didn't own Activision Blizzard yet. So.
Wait. So
But-
sorry. I'm reading something else. I'm not sure what you just said. I wasn't referring to that.
it's okay.
On Avowed's
about it.
Twitter, they didn't even announce that it's delayed. It was
Oh.
only from the Xbox account.
Oh, that's kind of gross. You should put that out on all of them.
Is
Really?
am I missing it?
No, it's not there. You're right. Well, I'm sure the social media
it's in
team
the
loves to
title.
learn that.
Yeah, it's in the like info of the account.
Yeah.
That's really weird.
All right.
Yep.
And a little bit of social media fail. It's a nice one. Yeah, I don't know. This seems pretty weird to me, to be honest with you. I'm always going to be of the mind where you should communicate open and honestly with your players.
Sure.
If the players are getting angry and you're being open and honest with them, it means that they're passionate about the game. And that's really what it comes down to for me. I am fine with a player being mad that the game is not out yet because I can communicate with them and say the game is not ready yet. I am working on it. You know, this is happening. It's a quality thing, whatever it is. But if you're coming out and be like, there's too many games, even though we make them all, like everyone's like, that looks like PR and I hate you. Like and then you've got no leg to stand on. There's no conversation there. You just look like a tool. Like, don't look like a tool. Just tell them the game isn't ready if that's going to be the case.
Exactly.
Like, it's not valuable. It's a miss every time.
I agree with you completely on that. It's really weird.
Yeah, I think we live in a time of like over PRing messages because they want it to be inoffensive and easy to consume, and players are rejecting the shit out of it. Like, you don't want to do that. You need to communicate with people like human beings on the internet, and if you don't, you're gonna get roasted instantly, man.
Now,
very true.
Nowadays, when we at least when I train studios on messaging, and especially sort of like messaging the core sort of like thing of their game, I tell them you've always been trained to like make your messaging reach as broadly as possible, right? Like to make it soft, to make it accessible, to make it easy to understand. I posit that the better way of doing this, right, the superior way of doing messaging is figuring out how you can, without intentionally trying to piss everybody else off, right? Not as in make them angry, but say, hey, listen, this is an RPG for RPG players that like RPGs. If this is not for you, reading this tweet should make you go, oh, that ain't for me, right? That's how you should do messaging, because then you're being honest to your RPG players, right? Because then you're, and it's, people get very defensive and soft when they have to be like public. But when they get to defend the thing that they care about, they get a lot more like strong in the way they communicate. So I train my teams that way. I tell them like, listen, talk about your game in such a way that everybody who would hate it sees your tweet and hates your tweet. That's how it should be, right? Because that means you're being genuine about your thing.
And your core audience is going to defend you into the ground for that. They'll defend you up and down because they go, these devs get us. They understand exactly the kind of game that we want. They're on our side 100%. And the people on the outside go, well, that shit ain't for me. I don't really care. And they're not that invested anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And the ones who go, hey, maybe that is for me. Then you've got a solid community of people that are positive about their experience with the developers. They're going to induct them into it and be like, hey, look at all this cool shit the devs are doing. And now you've got another player, right? And I try to explain the same thing to as many indie devs as I possibly can, is just be honest. Don't do corpo speak. Don't do that bullshit. You're going to chase everyone away, and you're not going to impress your core audience either. You're going to lose them as well.
Right.
It's dumb.
Yep.
It isn't the trend these days, like praising like people who are involved with video games, like praising them for being like upfront with us. You know, people like saying like, thank you for letting us know what the fuck is actually happening to this game I love.
Yep.
It's this weird loop, because the reason everybody is doing corpo speak is because for a while anything you said would turn into a massive shit show online. So it's like it's always push and pull. Like there's a balance, but the balance is never found. We always overcorrect in one way or the other. So for a while, showing a puddle on a trailer was cause for tremendous concern and argument on Twitter. So now we just don't, right? But now we're at the point where everybody's like, but you're not showing the real thing. And it's like, yeah, because when we showed the real thing, that was a problem. So now we're showing the bad thing. And so it's just this, it's a sling. We'll never get it right. That's the point, right? But like as indies, you don't have to be part of this entire movement, because you talk about your game the way you want to talk about it. And that's what people connect to. So you want to show open development, you want to show it with all the bugs, all the errors, all the problems, fucking go for it. If you want to do shiny polish because that's the way you are and that's the way you communicate and that's the way you're comfortable, you don't get anxious with that, you get to do it, then do that. You want to do like monthly, do that. Whatever you do, just do the thing that's comfortable for you, right? Like whatever the AAA is doing, they'll figure it out. They'll never get it right, but they'll continue figuring it out.
Yeah.
The thing that's most important about that to take away from it too is whatever way that you feel most comfortable as a creator, no matter what it is, you're making video games, you're making music, you're making art, whatever, right? You need to be acting that way. Don't be the way where you're like, I could garner the largest audience possible, because anyone that is following you is going to be like, that's fake shit instantly. They're going to see right through that. They're going to drop you instantly because they have no understanding of who you are as a person. There's nothing that you're standing on. Yeah. You're not being yourself. And it's funny because everyone's like, oh, just be yourself and it'll work out. But people don't understand what that means until they're in a position where they get to be themselves and it's working. You just have to do it the way that you want to. And you know what ends up happening? You form a community around you that likes the way that you are, which is a much better position to be in, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, the worst thing that can happen to you is you become really successful being someone else.
And that's rough.
It breaks people. I've seen it happen to developers that just like sort of took on a persona, and that's who they are, and that's what people love. And like, you need a bit of a persona. Like, let's be honest. Like, you need a little bit of separation between your personal life and like the world out there. Like, this me is not how I'm gonna be when I get back down to the couch and I'm like gonna sit on my feet. But
yeah, kind of true for
which is
everything
good.
in
That's
life,
healthy.
I think.
Like, I need a little
healthy?
bit, but like. Yeah. But the me that's here is like 97% me, right? There's just a few things that I like to keep in my life without other people involved. And so when I talk about the games industry, I'm just going to be honest about shit, because I don't want to have to talk a different way about video games. I just really don't want to, like, because that's going to be fucking exhausting, right? If I have to pretend to be something else, talking about the thing that I love, it's going to tear me apart. I can't do that. So I don't.
Yeah.
No, it's not a way to be. I actually can't do the persona thing on the internet. You know, I can't. And I've always been like, no, this is exactly how I feel about it. This is why I feel about it, and take it or leave it. Because like, and I can't even imagine the idea of having a second take outside of the internet and having a take on the internet specifically so that you can garner more influence or whatever. Like, that's exhausting. That's exhausting.
Mostly, I just can't talk about 70% of the shit I know, and I'm fairly sure that's probably true for you as well. Where it's like,
I can talk up to a point, and then I can make jokes about it without being specific.
Yeah.
The amount of times I've sat in this show, like Googling a thing I was about to comment on, to be like, wait, is this public? Is like infuriating. I'm like, can I say that?
Yeah.
It's like, am I allowed to talk about that? Did they release that yet? How far is my NDA gone? Same shit.
It's true for, I think, a lot of folks. I think you said persona. I think ego might be a better word there.
Sure.
I feel like everyone should have some
ego.
sort of ego or, alter ego. makes a little bit more sense there. Because
that's the thing I can't do it, man. I can't do a secondary alter ego for any of that shit. And I think for me, it's because it's exhausting. Like I stream 12 hours a day.
Yeah.
I work about 19 hours a day. I sleep about 5 hours a day. Been doing that for years. That's the way I like to operate. Right. And like, if I were to have to maintain or manage different masks for that, I just screw that shit. Like, can't do that.
You get too many masks, then you get yourself into trouble.
even two,
trouble,
like even more than one, nah, dude. Like it's ridiculous to me. It's too much. I know some people can do it. I know some people like to play a character on stream or things like that. I find that exhausting for me, and I think I don't think that's a detriment. I think it's a bad thing for people to be like that, but I couldn't do it. You know, it just bothers.
For some people, the mask is natural, and then I get it. You know, like, but you just have to be whoever you are. And I found in 15 years of games industry now, and like everything around it, people are super different, right? But like doing something because you think it will be successful, that will always fuck you up. Whatever it is, like it doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're making a game, whether you're making music, whether you're live streaming, whether you're writing, like what doesn't matter. If you're doing the thing because you think that is what I have to do to become successful, I've never seen it work, and the few times it worked, it made the person miserable because they didn't want to be that. They wanted to be them, and then you end up being successful for not you. That sucks, mate. Like that really sucks. It's like everybody likes not me.
Yep.
Right.
Everybody likes everybody likes a fake version, and like I think that was one of the coolest things. Like when I went to TwitchCon EU recently, and I got to meet all of the other people that I hang out with on streams and everything, like CDawg and all those people, and it's just like I was so worried. I was like, am I going to be the only one that's like the same off stream? And everyone was the same off stream. It's like, oh, thank God.
It can be life affirming when that happens. Yeah.
I was so worried, dude, because I was like, dude, so it's going to be like a bunch of, completely different people. And it's like, no, everybody's exactly the same, because it is exhausting if you have those extra masks. It's too much.
Yeah. Yeah. Without question.
One of the first thing, like, I'm sure you guys get asked this more than I do, but every once in a while someone will ask me about streaming. It's like, what are your advice, your tips for streaming? And that's always been one of the first ones. It's just like, be yourself plus energy. That's like the first one. And don't lie to your audience. Like, don't fucking bullshit them.
Don't bullshit them, because there are more of them and they will catch you.
Yeah, they'll catch
100%.
100%.
Like, and I think the other big one is schedule. I always kind of equate it to a TV show, where I'm like, imagine you're watching a TV show and it's on Thursdays every week at 6 p.m., right? And you always watch it that day. Now imagine your TV show shows up on a random channel at a random time of day, some day during the week, every week. You're probably not going to watch that shit anymore. So why do you do that with your stream? Have a schedule. That's it.
Yeah. Great point. Last bit of news. I lied, by the way, Rami. What were you going to say? And then we can jump to the next.
I was like, I was just going to add, which is why I don't stream, because I cannot maintain a stable schedule with my travel.
Schedule.
So
yeah. Makes sense.
Up.
The last thing is, it's not really news. I mean, I guess it is. It's my question formed from the news that Capcom said, quote, all business segments outperformed in latest results. But just a question for everyone. When is Capcom going to fail? Because I feel like for about a decade now, they've just constantly, ever since like Street Fighter 4, they've only put out absolute wins and bangers. I guess Exo Primal was it was kind of a failure, but it was still a test and success.
It's the exact same thing as before. They run the studio smart.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just a smarter way of running. They're not taking bets where you're like, what the fuck? Like, you look at what they do, and they do like a little bit above what they can do. A little bit of what they, like, the sort of like the what is the Americans like, rise to the challenge? Fuck rising to the challenge, man. If the challenge is up here, why the fuck would I go back? Like, let me go here. Let me figure my shit out. If I do 2 of those well, then I have enough margin to try the challenge, right? Like, I'm not going to run the Olympic. Like, I'm not going to become an Olympic athlete anyway. But if I was in sports, I don't do every training run at the same pace I do the Olympics, because that's dumb. That's dumb shit.
The Olympics is when you push yourself that extra.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. You always give your full 80%. That's my hard rule. You give your full 80% so that when you need it, you have enough in the tank to give the 100, right? If you always give your 100 when you need it, you can only give 60 because you're fucking exhausted.
That is true.
So
Take
always,
that, my chat.
yeah, always give it your full 80%. That's my
I actually
hard
really
rule.
I love that quote. Give it your full 80% because it's true. Like I've been through so many crunch cycles and bullshit and like overtime stints and all that crap. And like, yeah, I remember they announce overtime. Like, yeah, we're going to be doing overtime for the next 2 months. And I'm like, man, I'm already exhausted. It was just this conversation. Like, what, are you kidding me? Like, shit. I'm not even ready for that. 12-hour days. All right. Let's go. But like, yeah, no, it's true. Yeah, give it that 80% so you have that wiggle room. And dude, keep your sanity. So many people burn the hell out of themselves trying to do stuff really fast. Life is a long, weird ass adventure.
Sure.
Give it some time. Let that stuff stew. And if you give yourself the time to like do things creatively anyway, over time, your ideas about creativity and your ideas about what you want to make will change and grow because you've given yourself the time to sit down and think about it instead of just rush, which is going to lead to bad results. So,
yeah. It's
and speaking from experience on that, like as far as my streaming life has gone, I used to do a lot more like theatrics and shit like that. Like I'd put on a helmet, I'd swing a hammer like a madman and shit like that. And I ended up hating that I made that a thing. Like after I stopped doing it, but like after a while, I was resenting people for raiding me because every time they raided, I gotta put on the fucking helmet again. I gotta do the fucking thing again. Dance for the fucking people. And I started resenting people for raiding me. Like, just don't do it, okay? Please. Now I don't mind so much because I don't do all the theatrics.
Sure.
But back then, like, I got really fucking burnt out on that shit. And that's why, because I was like, every stream was like, go, 100%. Making sure it's louder, faster, funnier, that kind of shit. And it just like, it was not sustainable.
Yeah.
Hey, JP, as a quick thing, one thing that I think really summarizes this whole thing, though, is when you read the fiscal report, I pulled it up. Net sales decreased by 32.5% year on year to 29.5 billion yen, which is about $190 million. And operator income fell by 46% to 12.8 billion yen. Ordinary income dropped by 47.9% year over year to 13.4, and net income attributable to owners dipped by 45.1%. Everything is down.
Everything's down, yeah.
Right? Everything is down, but they outperformed their expectations. They were okay setting the expectations lower. To just say like, hey, this is where we're going to be. And because of that, they get to keep their people. Right? Because they didn't promise infinite growth. They said, hey, we had a good year. We're going to have a lower year. We're going to have a good year. We're going to have a low. Because that's how the games industry works. It takes years to make a game. Over that period, you're investing, and then after that, you make it back. Actually, I should do that the other way around. Over that time, you're investing, and then, you potentially peak. All their plans were outperformed. It remains on track to achieve its full-year earnings forecast, but they didn't forecast growth. That doesn't happen here.
That is true, yeah.
Everything is growth. Everything is up. Capcom just goes, yeah, this is a shit year.
Well, it's.
Anyway,
I would,
and that's a smart thing to do, man. That's how they. Should be doing this.
So you underpromise, you overdeliver. The shareholders are happy because honestly, the shareholders don't particularly care whether it's up or down. Many of them, they just care that they understand what's going to happen, so they can play the game.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So we're good. This is great. This is awesome. They went like, hey, it's going to be a little rougher this year. We did great. Like, listen, I am not going to be upset about 190.5 million. Like that's nice for a Capcom.
The cool thing too about that is that Capcom's is that quarter report or is that annual report? What are you looking at?
The latest fiscal was
that's probably quarter.
Consolidated results for the 3 months ending June 30th.
Yeah, so in that quarter they put out Kunitsugami Path of the Goddess, which is like small game, I would say, but a really fucking cool game and like maybe one of the more unique things that Capcom's done. I guess Exoprimal would also probably fit into that, but like we didn't spend any time on the show talking about it because we've just been packed with guests, but it's like a tower defense game that is, it's a bizarre game that has so many things going on in it. It seems like it wouldn't make any sense, but it's actually great. Like it really works out well. And it's wild that it came from Capcom of all people. I had a blast playing that.
they make space to do experiments. Like that's I miss that games industry, man. I'll be really honest. Like I don't know, like Thor. I don't know how long you've been. You said you've been around what, like 2 decades
20.
almost.
Yeah, since
20.
2004.
Like for me, 15, right? And like I think when I was starting, there was a sliver of that era, right? Like Mirror's Edge, Dead Space, that kind of shit. Like people were taking experiments because there was space to. EA made those games.
Yeah.
Right?
They don't
Like
do that
EA made
anymore.
those games.
Yeah.
It's gone. Like that's gone. But this
You know
is
where we
that.
see-
I'm jealous
yeah.
of that.
The only time that I really see experimentation like this is so rare in AAA now. It's indie. One of the reasons why I love the indie industry, why like I'm trying to cultivate as many indie devs as possible, is because they have the room to experiment. You'll see weird, passionate ideas, and some of them are going to fail. Some of them are just shit, right? They won't work. But that's the point of experimentation. Some of your ideas are cool, some of your ideas don't. And we start seeing new genres come out of that. And you're like, where the hell did that come from? I've never even seen that before. You know, and it's wild as hell to me that there's not more experimental teams. Because when I was at Blizzard early on, there was a lot of experiments inside that were tried. Some of those projects got killed. Some of them turned into something you saw afterwards. Like Overwatch was an experiment. There was like 12 devs on that game, dude. It's not a big, massive team. Hearthstone was an experiment. The original design of Hearthstone, the prototype was in Flash. Like, there's wild shit like this.
That's crazy to think about.
But it happens so infrequently today. It's crazy. I'll give you another one. Here's the Storm was just going to be a map in StarCraft 2's arcade map system.
That's all it was going to be.
And then it became its own game. There are experiments that turn into really awesome shit, but you have to give your developers the room and opportunity and funding and environment to take those risks, to try those experiments. And no, not all of them are going to work out, but that's okay, because when they do work out, you make some awesome shit that does great a lot of the times.
Yeah. Like the Kingsfield series wasn't that popular.
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, and it definitely didn't have a global audience, but it is what inspired Demon's Souls. And Demon's Souls did pretty good, but not the way Dark Souls did, right? Like, and this is a studio, and that's all from, right? Like, that's all From Software. Those people got to stick around, practice, try things, fail at things until they got to the point where they're like, yep, this works. And then it goes. But we don't see that in the industry. Capcom clearly is sort of like cultivating something like that. I like that.
Yep.
I miss that. If there was a Japanese Phil Fish that sat down tomorrow and said, hey, you know, Western games kind of not having their best time right now, I'd be like, yeah, you're fucking right. Like, we're just in a weird spot.
That's a rough thing to hear, but you're right.
Oh God, a Japanese fish.
Not to play devil's advocate here, but you got to be like, as far as like, if you're responsible or you have to answer to investors and stuff, and you ask them, hey, we're going to take a gamble, or excuse me, you have two choices. You have a gamble or a sure thing. Investors, like, holy shit, I'm sure they're taking the sure thing like 99% of the time, right?
But that's where it goes wrong. There is no sure thing. This is the games industry. There is no such thing as a sure thing.
I'm talking AAA, like AAA studios. There's sure things like if you slap COD or Assassin's Creed on something, it's going to succeed, right?
No,
like
it'll do okay at best. Like that's the best thing you can guarantee is there's holy shit.
Yeah, what the
Jesus?
Was that not a sound effect?
There was somebody listening, and they were like, "No,
no."
He goes, "There's a new Assassin's Creed game out. I gotta go."
Did someone say new COD? Let's go.
It's Bobby Kotick. Let me no, but
Jesus,
Activision just fucking wheeled over to your house. We gotta get him. Shut him the fuck up.
Which NDA did I break? But no, but the best you can get is that a lot of series sort of have like an audience that will stick with the series for at least 1 or 2 titles, even if it kind of goes to shit. So for an Assassin's Creed, they have a number that they can give as an expectation for the series, kind of no matter what.
Right.
But that is not the number shareholders want. The number shareholders want is that, but up a lot. That's what's going wrong on our side. That's what's going wrong in sort of like Western game development right now, is shareholder like economies are for short-term high growth bets. And one thing I can guarantee is that your growth bet on Assassin's Creed growing that audience by 10% looks a lot better than growing no audience by 10%.
Yep.
Because an experiment has no audience, and that's what's happening.
Sure.
It's not. It's not that it's sure. It's that the opportunity of the number going up is higher with a known quantity than with something new. But on the long term, trying new things is how you make things that really stand out, right? And that's what we're missing right now. And that's where indie comes in, like Thor's saying. Like,
I guess that's what I wanted to hear. Like, I wanted to hear you say, like, trying new shit eventually, like, long term, is the right strategy to have. Because I fucking, you know, my indie heart is big. Like, I love whether it passes, fails, ugly, pretty, whatever it is. If they take fucking chances on a game, I absolutely love it. Love it every time.
Right now, the way we get new shit is two ways. Indie studio that has grown to a point where they can still take experiments, but not beyond that. And indies that are too naive to know any better. That's it. Like, it's the kids who have no fucking clue what they're doing. They're coming in, they swing for the fences, they get lucky, it goes through. That's a hit.
They're like, I made this weird thing, and everyone's like, I've never seen shit like that. Yeah.
Wow, the ladder falls on the guy's head and it makes a boop sound. Great. Like,
yeah,
it's a viral hit.
Yeah, no, that's one of those things that's wild too. Is like a lot of those small weird details like that are missing from AAA because it's a scheduled thing. Where it's like, oh, what am I scheduled to do today? I'm scheduled to do these specific tasks to get this environment ready. And some studios don't have that creative wiggle room in their schedule to allow for, you know, I'm going to spend today making this ladder animate. I'm going to spend today doing a silly thing here that would be meaningful for a player. You just have to get it done. And like that is rough as shit. I remember seeing that when I was in AAA all the time, where it's like, we could do that so much better and be so much bigger of a deal. And they're like, yeah, but it's not in this sprint. I'm like, oh, you son of a bitch.
That probably hurt
him. I think all AAA studios should have a department of silly things.
Just a day, just a day in the week. Like, I tell my indie teams, take Friday, do fun shit.
Yep.
Do fun shit. Yep. Just do fun shit. Whatever it is. Like that flamethrower, a little bit more sparkle, a little bit more like a little ground effect. The grass goes on fire. You know, like play with that. Like, you know, your jump, have a little bit more like oomph when you roll, like when you move, when you have this interaction. Like give that, you know, on the health bar when you're playing a game and you have like really heavy impact moments and the health bar has the chunk that turns red and then the health bar sort of like comes back up. But like if it's a really big blow, it kind of like goes a little slower. That's like a day of work, right? Just getting those sort of like little things in the health, but it makes such a fucking difference.
Sure.
It makes such a difference. And nobody will put that on a fucking sprint. Nobody's going to go like, okay, these are like triage-wise, like in order of importance to like minimum shippable. This is the most. It isn't. It's never going to be. But it is makes the difference. That's where video games happen, right?
It's one of the things I really like in like Noita. You're talking about the health bar. One of the things I like in Noita is when you're out of mana, but you try to cast a spell, it makes a chunk noise, and your mana bar goes, whoa, like it wiggles when that happens. To be like, look at this, you're out of mana, you idiot. You know, like, and I love that little stuff. I love all those little things, you know, like, and I have a day every week because I work on all my games every day after stream. And I have a day every week that is my fun day, and that's Friday every week, where I just play the game. I find something that could be like a little bit fun to add to the game, and I add it in. And one of the ones that I added in a while back for Heartbound was if you decide to take the axe at the beginning of the game and you get near any of the trees towards like the end of the game, they wiggle when you're nearby because they're afraid because you have an axe. Just little things like that, like little dorky stuff where it's like that only happens if you have the axe. It didn't need to be added to the game, but it was on a Friday fun day, and I was like, I'm going to bump this up and do something fun. And I add stuff like that all the time because I make sure to give myself the space to do so. Any games I ever work on going forward, the development team will have that space. You'll have a Friday fun day. Go make something weird, put it into the schedule, and it will make the game better.
I remember,
and the joy of discovering those things as a gamer, like if you have these things correct, you're like, it makes logical sense. Like it makes, I guess, cartoon logical sense that if you have the axe out, the trees are going to be fucking scared of you. Scared. I said scared. Shut up.
He became an Italian.
You gotta be scared of it. You gotta be scared of it.
But also our response.
I love that.
when
Like every
you
once in a while,
notice it.
that'll happen, right? You'll be coming up and like, you got a torch, and you got like a bale of hay, and the bale of hay like goes, it like tries to get away from you or something like that. And it's like, oh shit! If I didn't have the torch out at that exact time, that wouldn't have happened. But they added that in for this reaction, this face that I'm making right now.
You know what it is? It's adding in a feature that not every player will experience. That is what it comes down to. It's, I'm going to add something knowing that the majority of the audience will never know that this existed. And when you do that, you create awesome moments that are shared between players that stick with them forever. It's the reason we play games, dude.
Yeah.
And a lot of studios are missing that right now.
It really is it. It's just, and it's in everything. It's in feedback. It's in details. It's in moments like that. Like that moment that Zeke described, the moment you notice it is great for you. The moments we notice you noticing it,
it's huge.
Come on, that. Like for us as developers, watching you see the tree wiggle and go like, holy shit. Is that because the axe? It's everything, man. That's everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's why I was so into Animal Well, because I played 80 hours of Animal Well. Went totally all in on it. Actually did an interview with Billy Basso, the developer, as well, because like I wanted to have him on and like have him talk about the game, and it's just, that game oozes with that, man. There is so much hidden shit. Like I solved all the puzzles, I went all the way through it, found all the secrets and stuff, even like went through like the community found secret stuff, like anything else that I might have missed. And it's just layer after layer after layer of, the average player will never see this. The normal player will never see this at all. And I know that a number of those mechanics, a number of those systems took weeks to months to build. And it's maybe a couple seconds for me, but I'm going to remember that shit forever. It's going to change the way that I make games. It's going to change the way that I feel about games for the rest of my life. Same thing can be said about Outer Wilds or anything else. Adding those simple individual touches that only happen for certain players at the right time, at the right place, under the right conditions is massive. It's enormous.
Yeah. You guys, it's just fun to think about this. That I'm like, the first time that happened for me was when someone told me to enter Justin Bailey into the code of Metroid, the password code. And you enter Justin Bailey and you get to see Samus in her, I think I don't know if it's called the Very Suit at the time or it's just like her swimsuit. Yeah. And I was just like, I beat this game and there's no fucking way I would have seen this until somebody told me like a secret about this thing. And I felt like I had to share it with fucking everybody,
Yeah.
I think
the old
Zero
Suit. That's what it was. Zero Suit. Thank you.
Most recent one I had was in Animal Well. And there's a part in the game where you go interact with the computer. And when I interacted with the computer, I heard somebody upstairs in my house and I'm here alone. And I was like, what the shit is that? I was like, somebody's breaking in. And I get my giant spoon because it's the only weapon that I have nearby my desk. And I'm like, oh, shit. And I go upstairs and I'm like telling Chad, I was like, I think somebody just broke into the house. And I go up there and there's nobody there. And I'm freaking out. And I was like, what the hell is that? And I get back down to my desk and I hit the computer in the game again and I hear it again. And what it was is I have a printer in the other room. And that in-game computer, when you interact with it, it prints something out of your goddamn printer. And the paper hits the wall and goes ka-chunk, 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 ka-chunk down the wall because it's facing towards the wall. And it sounds like a man walking upstairs. Destroyed me, dude. Absolutely annihilated me. Yeah, dude.
I didn't realize that game interacts with your... I mean, I knew it did crazy shit. I didn't know it went that crazy.
That game is a trip, dude. But yeah, no, it was hilarious. It actually prints out an origami rabbit that you have to do to solve the rabbit to do a thing, and it's ridiculous.
Jesus, I didn't know that. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, it blew me away. Blew me away, dude. But like, there's shit like that. I'm gonna remember that forever.
That games, man.
You should play Animal Well, Zeke, if you haven't.
I did. I played a little bit of it. I guess I gotta play more of it. Apparently,
yeah. They've got
the well goes deeper.
It's very deep.
Okay.
Very, very deep. Yeah. All right, Rami, you would kill me if we didn't talk about EDF6. So tell me about EDF6, and I will pull up some footage of said game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it's the best game ever made.
I thought EDF5 was the best game ever made.
Yeah, until EDF6.
Oh.
So first of all, EDF6 contains at least 4 EDF games. It contains 6, 7, 8, and 9. They tried some narrative shit.
What?
It might work. But the for those of you who don't know the EDF series, it's the Earth Defense Force series, and it is a game made by what is presumably a 14-year-old pretending to be an adult and leading a game studio.
It's actually Hideo Kojima's brother that no one knows exists. Right. Yeah.
So
Chuck.
So basically,
that's Chuck Kojima. Yeah.
When we make games, we get taught that the important part is that the player believes what you're saying, right? So if you have a fight and you say like, "There's 1,000 enemies coming," they have to put at least enough that you believe that there might be 1,000 enemies coming. EDF chucks that all out of the window. If it says there's 1,000 enemies coming, the game will slow down as it instances 1,000 ants the size of a truck that then come at you. All the weapons are dumb. There is not a single sane weapon in the entire video game. You have most of your rocket launches will kill you pretty much immediately. There are giant frogs the size of skyscrapers that create a moral problem in our soldiers because our soldiers believe they look just like humans, so they don't want to shoot the frogs. By the time the game continues, you fight Godzilla, you fight a fire dragon, you fight in a giant robot suit. You have a railgun cannon that is completely uncontrollable. Every place that you try to protect ends in a giant piece of just nothing is left. There's not a single level where you save the city. It's extremely Starship Troopers. Your characters are all ridiculous. You have a ranger, which is a soldier that has every type of weapon you can imagine. You have a wing diver, which is a girl in a bikini with a wingsuit that has a rocket booster on her back. You have an air raider who can just call giant air raids and spawn drones. That's what you're seeing right now. And you have a fencer, which is just a big dude with shields and guns. None of it makes sense. The story is phenomenal. Absolutely brilliant. If you're playing this for the story, for once you're correct. They tried to redo Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise. And they kind of nail it. 90% of the time, you can't see this. It's not a pretty game, but it doesn't matter because 90% of the time, there's so many ants within 5 meters of your character that all you're seeing is just wiggling geometry. And blood, lots of blood. But it's purple. The UFOs that fly around, I don't know if you have footage of a UFO, but the UFOs that fly around, you can only hurt them from below. So you can only shoot the UFOs from below. But when you destroy them, they always fall straight down. So they just turned off collision on those fuckers because otherwise it would be utterly unplayable. Look at he's fighting Godzilla on a bad motorbike. All the vehicles are shit. They're uncontrollable. The physics are terrible. It is the best game of all time right now. The main thing to understand about this game is that EDF is the most honest video game in the history of mankind. Everything it says is true. Nothing is fake. Everything is exactly as they say. No cheats, no lying. If they say my sergeant has been killed, there is invisible code in the game that keeps track of the morale of all the other soldiers and their hierarchy to other soldiers. And it is utterly useless. It never does anything. But it's there so that the right dialogue, oh, that's a big android.
Sure.
You have to shoot the eye. Of course you have to shoot the eye. That's it. It's honest. It's exactly what it says it is. Game of the year. We don't have to argue about it anymore.
Okay.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
It's funny because someone in chat was like, "Oh, I can't believe Rami has bad taste in video games." I think you're wrong, dude. I think he's got great taste in video games. You make enough games, you see something like this, you're like, I wish I made this. I wish my name was in the credits.
Have you never played EDF before, Thor?
No, I haven't.
Really?
You have to.
Oh wow.
Thor, you have to understand the way the pickup system in this game works is the dumbest shit you've ever seen. You see those boxes that are being picked up right now? The armor ones give you permanent increase in health after the mission ends, and the green ones give you give you new weapons after the mission ends, but only if you've picked them up before you kill the last enemy. So most level in EDF end with you kiting a single frog with a machine gun around the level as you're trying to collect 4 or 5 crates that you really want. And it's just dumb. It's just really stupid, but it's also really satisfying to just run through a giant pile of crates of all the shit you've been murdering. Oh, those are the UFOs. It's so bad. It's so good.
This is the reason, this game is the reason that we grew up on stuff like Garry's Mod. Because it's just stupid, ridiculous fun. It doesn't need
Yep.
to be serious. It doesn't need to be AAA graphics. It doesn't need to be perfect. It needs to be shooting ants with a machine gun in the snow and like a giant UFO. Like this shit. Like that's wild, dude.
Yep.
And like
It's
that's
great.
that's the reason. I love chaotic, ridiculous ass video games. So like, no,
Yep.
this is a cool ass game. I'm in. I'm
The
100%.
only
Is that do you?
You've sold me. Yeah.
well, I was gonna say there is drama around it, but Zeke, you might have had a better question.
No, I just wondered. Do you think the reason why you love games like this, Rami, or this particular game series so much, is because you don't, as a developer, you don't have to sit there and go like, why did they do this? How did they do this? What? Because you like all the questions are like kind of answered by cuz.
Yeah, I think they just really made something very honest. It's true. Everything is the most obvious answer for everything. It's just like, we want enemies that run at you. They're ants. Are we going to call them ants? No, that's weird. So these are aggressive species alpha, and nobody on this planet has ever seen an ant. They've also never seen spiders, but they have seen spiderweb. Like, they really take the narrative very seriously, which is my favorite thing about the whole thing. Like, they go really hard on that shit, even though it's really bad. But I think they know. There is a line in the game that is the first time I actually realized that I think they know, because you're in sort of like a time loop. One of the characters calls out a speech from an earlier game and says like, "Wow, that's really embarrassing." I'm like, "Yeah, they know. They know. They know. They know this is bad."
It's funny because that kind of humor always really lands really well with me. Like Starship Troopers, the whole "I'm doing my part, I'm doing my part." Like I love that over the top bullshit.
Would you like to know more?
Like, would you like to know more? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what
you're gonna love this game. You're gonna
play
if you've never played an EDF game, like there's a scientist who's like continuously trying to find out names for the aliens, and like they go hard on like the different type of enemies you fight. But it's all this. This is the entire. You've just seen the entire video game.
Yeah, it
You
doesn't
don't
really
need to know
change
much
gameplay
more.
wise from this.
No.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I think a lot of people don't realize this. The gameplay isn't always the thing. Like the ridiculous narrative around it, the feeling of being over the top and humorous is the gameplay as well. Like that's part of it.
Yeah.
You know, and you can have like, you know, pretty simplistic gameplay, but if it's funny and it's engaging, the game's there to be an entertainment piece, man. You're entertaining. The game is entertaining. It doesn't matter if you have gigantic ants shooting, like, what is that? Like acid splats? That's amazing.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
It's acid. Also,
I
just
love
like
that.
the chunks of the ants. If you watch the chunks fall off the ants,
It's falling off.
if you
of
have
me.
like a grenade launcher later on in the game, you can kill like 200 of these guys in one shot, and it's just like shit flying around
Just
for like
lag.
7 to 8. It's great. Like it is like at every moment they had a meeting where somebody went like, "Hey, this affects performance." They went, "Yes, we know,"
I don't even think they had
and then
that
just
meeting.
continued development. No, probably,
This
I'm fine with
probably
it.
not.
Okay, so this game makes true. Like people say it jokingly all the time, but this game seems like it revolves around. It's not a bug; it's a feature.
Yeah, or a bug in this game.
Might be a
There's
real
lots
bug.
of bugs.
Well, okay.
You know what
Yes,
it is?
yes, okay, I
It's-
get what you're saying.
It's the phenomenon of the high quality shitpost. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Nobody likes when something is trying to be perfect and is just slightly off, but we all love when someone's like, "This is shit. It's just shit. You get to play this shit." That's what that is. You know, the high quality shitpost is great, dude. Like I love a high quality shitpost, and this feels like a high quality shitpost as a game, and that's super fun for me. The other thing too is it's also one of those things like we were talking about earlier, where like indies can take chances and make mistakes, and this is that game. This is the epitome of that entire line of thinking. This is that. The end result of it is you can make a shitpost of a video game that is fun and engaging and fun to play. Dig that.
Now the drama, Rami, why don't you fill them in on the drama around the game with the epic login thing while I go and
Oh
let
yeah,
the dog
yeah.
out
There's
real
a
quick.
thing with there's an epic store login that is required if you get it on PC, I think. Normally I would agree with it. In case of EDF, just shut the fuck up by the video game. Like it is very good. Like just play EDF. Come on, y'all. Like we don't get games like this. Please buy this video game. Please give me more EDF. It is so
Yeah.
you get to sing in this game. You get to sing.
Did Epic fund it?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
I'm wondering what the agreement
No.
is there of why that ended up happening. Like, is it a timed exclusive? Is it like, what is it?
Yep.
Time exclusive.
I don't actually know what it is. It's gonna be gone relatively soon, the Epic thing, and then just get it.
Then it won't be a
But
problem.
it's one of
Yeah.
it's one of those things where it's like this kind of game does not exist anymore. We
Yeah.
don't get this. We don't get to do this anymore, and that's such a shame because we will never get anything like this ever again. And I love that. I think more of this should happen. Even if it gets funded sometimes in weird ways, even if sometimes it's not perfect, but we don't get this.
There was a game that I saw recently. It was like a mecha game where you could just attach any parts together and they like put legs on a tank or some shit. Does anyone remember what that was? What game was that?
I remember seeing pictures of that, I think. Or screenshots or something like that.
I'm sure someone in chat has found this. You could have like legs on a tank. Was it Mecha Break? I don't think it was that. Might not be that. No, this was way more shitposty. This was a shitpost game.
Which game?
Not Armored Core, guys.
No, Armored Core is not a shitpost.
Armored Core is not. No, Armored Core is not a shitpost.
This was a shitpost game. So RoboCraft? It might actually be RoboCraft. Let me go look.
RoboCraft. It could be RoboCraft.
No, it's not RoboCraft. It's not RoboCraft. No, this is a game that was like straight up hilarious. And I know I put it on my wish list, but my wish list is too long now, so I don't know where it is. This was not like a major serious game. This was a joke of a game where like you could put a bunch of heads on top of each other to create like a giant Pez dispenser that shot missiles. Like it was ridiculous. Custom Mech Wars. I think someone just found it. Yeah. Custom Mech Wars. This is another example. I'm pretty sure this is it.
Oh, 6 out of 10. It's the best game ever made.
Yeah. Yeah, check this shit out. You guys got to throw this out there. Custom Mech Wars. Same energy, dude.
That looks exactly like EDF. That is so good. Oh, it's the same publisher. Wait, it's the same people.
Yeah, it is.
It is the same people.
Oh, D3.
And look at this. They made a hamburger.
D3.
There's a hamburger bot in it. You got to show this thing.
What am I looking at? Sorry.
Custom Mech
same
Wars.
People.
You got
mixed reviews. 41% positive.
Which is how it should be. That's how it should be. The best game. I genuinely. Okay, sorry. This is a theory I have. The best games ever made have a mixed score. I genuinely think that.
I love shitposts. Look at that. Look at that shit.
Oh my God. Look at that mech.
So like, just as you can see, it's like, wow, it's such a big deal, right? But like, watch as this degenerates into madness, dude. It's just going to turn insane.
I'm on board so far. That looks like the guy from...
Here we go.
Oh.
Begins.
I think I've actually seen / maybe played this. Yeah.
Yep.
You build the mech, so you can do whatever you want. Tricerabot, dude. It gets so weird.
But it's so weird. You can see from the city, it's the same devs. This is literally, they're reusing assets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Commuter bot, samurai bot. Bunny.
You can just make all these weird robots because you build it. Yeah, look at the one on the top right.
You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of like someone played this and was like, what if we did this, but we made it actually kind of like work and you had tasks to do? And Mars First Logistics like came out of it.
If you look at the bot creator, dude, it's super deep. It's crazy deep. Like you can color every surface, you can interact, like you can make it as cool as you want to. You can take pictures of it, show your friends. Like it's a wild amount of effort for a shitpost. It's a high quality shitpost. It really much.
There's a drill dough bot.
Yeah.
Listen to this. Review. If you like mech games but don't know what EDF is, don't buy it. If you want EDF, that's also literally just a botched, stupid, god awful city version of Armored Core 4. Yeah, this is that.
Show the last robot. Look at this thing. It doesn't do anything. It can't even attack. It's just a bunch of heads, dude. But you could build that. You could just go into a mission with it and fail. Like this shit's hilarious to me. It's Armored Core, but more, dude.
I know he's got like a sword thing, like an axe at the top. Yeah,
you know, it's completely worth it.
Oh, by the way, for all those of you who are betting out there, 2 hours 42 seconds time to penis on this episode.
Is this the thing you guys are having bets on? Is that what it is?
No,
there's side, but not officially. You know, we'll talk after the show. Oh, I'll give you I'll give you the link later.
You know, if they invite me back on, I can be bribed, Chad. It's true.
Not after that. You're gonna break our entire fucking. What were you gonna say, Rami?
I bought it.
You bought
the
you bought that
Hogwarts,
game?
Hogwarts?
Yeah,
Right.
of course. Like, come on, look at that shit. That is the best shit.
Oh,
The best
man.
part is it's a $50 game too.
Yeah.
So it's like a full game,
But
right?
Oh my
It's not
god,
shit.
it is! I thought you were
Yeah, it's-
kidding.
It is.
But here's the thing: it's
No,
not
it's
shit.
$50.
Like it's actually a good game. Like it's super fun. It's wild.
Genuinely, anything EDF that D3 makes, I will buy it. I will not look at it. I will not reconsider it. I will just get it. I will
You're gonna
play
enjoy it.
and I will have the best time of my year. Every
I
time,
think that-
no exceptions.
It's an opportunity for
There's-
us as devs too to not take a game so goddamn seriously because it doesn't need to be taken seriously. It's a game that just gets to be stupid, and that's
Sure.
fun.
Yep.
That's fun. It's fun as hell to do that.
You're-
It doesn't need to be serious all the time. It doesn't need to be work all the time. Sometimes you just want to make a robot with 15 turtles on it. They shoot rockets everywhere. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
There was a game that I played. If we're in that same vein, a game that I played. If you guys haven't played it, I had a blast playing it. It's not quite as ridiculous, but it has very ridiculous elements to it. Totally accurate battle simulator.
Oh yeah, tabs. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Abs.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's super goofy and weird, but it has some of the best moments. Like, oh, it's so good. Tabs is really fun,
Yeah, that game can
and
be a ton
it
of
can
fun.
be super
Um,
ridiculous too.
One more EDF thing that somebody in chat just pointed out, and they're entirely wrong. Right. Sorry, entirely right. They're entirely correct. Split screen co-op.
Ah.
Game does have split screen co-op, which genuinely also, like, I miss split screen co-op. Gotta be honest. I miss the days where I could sit down with my friends, have one Xbox, and play Halo.
Yep.
Now I need to bring 4 Xboxes. We don't do that. That's too much work. Like, we don't want that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But EDF has both online and offline and split screen. So, like, super good.
Yeah.
Just the entire thing is good.
For the devs out there too, indie devs, if you're ever trying to make like a multiplayer game and you're worried that it's going to not be able to work for your cool idea that you have, do local co-op. And the reason why is because
Yep.
Steam allows you to have a little checkbox for the game, just a checkbox to do Steam Play Together. It allows people to play remotely together over Steam without any extra implementation from you. Local
Yeah.
co-op becomes a remote co-op instantly over Steam. It is awesome.
I've used that
shit.
before, and that shit is great.
Yep.
It
It's
really
really
is.
good. It used to be really laggy and shit, but I've played games like Wizard of Legend with my friends in Australia, dude. No problems.
Yeah.
Like, and that's a long distance, right?
That's great.
So like that kind of stuff. There's so many tools like this that unlock even multiplayer games to starting developers in a way that is very awesome because Steam lets you do it. It's just good.
What else? Thor, I saw you were. How were the Path of Exile adventures? Are they still ongoing? Did you dip out? Like, what? How's that
So
going for
Path
you?
of Exile is an on and off for me. One of the biggest things about Path of Exile that I really enjoy is I love turning my brain off and just killing demons. Like I love Diablo. I grew up on Diablo, got to work on Diablo. Love that shit. I just want to kill a bunch of demons and get a shiny loot out of it and just sock it into my gear and just not give a shit, right? Path of Exile is great for that, and I really love it. The problem that I have with it is whenever you want to play Diablo with friends, you just go, hey, let's jump on Diablo. We just kill shit. No one has to think. When I jump on Path of Exile and they're like, oh, I'll come play on Path of Exile with you, and you go, okay, cool. And they open up their skill tree and they just go, and they're like, I feel like I'm doing taxes, and they freak out, right? Because it's overwhelming as shit for the new player. And the worst advice, which is the best advice for the game that I hear from people, is play a character to level it's delete them, and then start over and do it again. And it's just a mess, right? And like the reason why is because you have to use Orbs of Regret to go and get your talent points back. But they fixed this in the latest league. What they've done now is they've made it so that you can use gold, which is actually a currency in the game now, to refund those on your character, which is like probably the best update they have ever made to the game. Personally, like I think that is a brilliant move finally, because build control and fluidity of build was the largest pain point for new players in Path of Exile, more than anything else, honestly. The town building mechanic stuff, like I played around with a little bit. I like town builders. I like idle games. Didn't feel that compelling to me. It's cool. It's neat. The functionality is cool, but like within a few minutes, I was like, all right, it's just delayed rewards, right? It's just,
it's exactly what it is. It's funny for me that like, I just to echo what you said, you mentioned that gold is the best thing they've added. I think this league is the best thing they've ever put out since like 3.0. But the reason the town stuff works for me is I would get to a point in Path of Exile where I'd put like, 100 hours or 150 hours into a character. within a league every 3 months. And I'd be like, I'm good. I'm going to walk away. I'm done. But now these motherfuckers have figured out that if you put a timer on something and there's a resource that you have to add to the timer to keep the timer going, that I will stay up an extra hour every night to make sure that I have 24 hours of grinding going while I'm offline because I'm doing a show where I can't play.
So, that doesn't work on me in this case.
It doesn't work on you?
The reason why is because there's no negative when I don't meet the timer. Town doesn't degrade. Right. There's nothing.
But number don't go up. The number don't go up. Thor?
If I want number go up, I'm going to do it on an accessible device because I'm moving around and going to the store, and I'm going to do number go up, which is why I play idle games on my phone.
They're
true. Easily accessible. I don't need to sit down at my desk and go log into my idle game so I can go do idle
as long
games.
as you're getting number go up somewhere.
Yeah. If I'm logging in Path of Exile, I'm doing it to kill demons.
Be more like Capcom? Is that what you just said?
Be more like Capcom, JP. Be more like Capcom. Maybe. Number does not always have to go up.
In PoE,
sometimes number goes down.
Number must always go. If number goes down, I'm quitting the game. I'm done.
Yeah, I like me a good idle game. Like I'll play like A Gank and shit like that. I'm super into it, right? I've always enjoyed that. But I think there's a couple of things in it that just don't hit with me, and I think it's because it feels like an injected idle game when I could just be getting the rewards from the event. Like when I finish the event, it's not, I don't get the ore immediately. I have to wait for them to mine it, which is like,
right.
Like, dude, I did the event. Like these types of games are built on kill demon, get reward. And this is kill demon, wait 2 hours, which is like, that's not why I'm here. So it doesn't feel right to me in that respect. The rest of it felt fine. Like I really like the idea of gold being in the game. I really like the fact that they've made the gold more of a rare drop. There is a lot of gold sinks and not a lot of gold gain. They balance that economy very well. And I think that the amount of gold that is used to reset your character is brilliant. I think that's way better than Orbs of Regret. Orbs of Regret were shit. I hated them. So
you can still use both. Awesome. Yeah, for people that are...
But I still hate them.
No, totally. Yeah. You could have that opinion without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've put... I don't know what my playtime is. I think I broke 4 days played on my character, so that's... What was that, 96 hours? 70? Yeah, bad, 96 hours, which is a little bit more. Usually at this point, I've dipped out of a PoE league, but I've been playing pretty much every single day. Yeah, it's
hooks in you.
It's got I've got like 3,000 or 4,000 hours in the game, so it's had its hooks in me bad before, and now I'm like kind of back into it in a bad way, which is
I jumped back into Warframe the other day.
Oh yeah,
and I think that one's gonna mess me up.
Okay,
I think the reason why is like I've known Pablo for a long time, and he's like, you know, creative guy over on Warframe now. He's kicking ass, and I haven't played any of the content that has been under his purview when he's been implementing it. And I jumped back into this shit, and I was like, oh, it's Warframe. We're gonna have the same thing where they give you a story, and then they don't tell you the answer, and then you're stuck on a cliffhanger. And then I get into it, I was like, wait a minute, what? They're resolving all the storylines. Like, what the hell what's going on here, right? And it started to freak me out because I realized it's so over the top now and so absurd and so like wrapped up in this like deep lore that I already know because I've been playing for years, man. It feels like I'm playing an episode of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I'm 100% here for it. Like, I'm just so in. It's so goddamn fun now. And they've added, like, Warframe is kind of like jump fast, kill a bunch of shit, and like don't care about what you're doing. But they've added all these sections where it's like you have to be methodical about how you're fighting. You actually have to use swordplay. You have to block. You have to parry. There's all this kind of stuff that like slowed the gameplay down. Where I was like, not only is this more compelling for me now because there's mechanical things that I have to overcome and get better at, but now I really want to play Soulframe too, because if they're
Soulframe looks interesting,
yeah, if they're going in that direction anyway, even if there's like testing that they're doing here, so they can test things over there, like cross pollination between teams. If there's any of that happening, that is a way more compelling game to me now as a result. You know, way more compelling. So I'm into it. I'm super into it. I'm probably going to play the shit out of Soulframe when it comes out too.
Yeah, it looks interesting. They're a little slow, but the game's still cooking. Sure. So it's, you know, they've got nothing but time. But
so with that, I wasn't bothered by that. And the reason why is because I look for the really deep, hard to make things like on the dev side first. And the first thing that I saw was they had all the telegraphs for all the attacks done perfectly for the player. So when the guy takes out his staff and he goes to hit it on the ground, he hits it, he pulls it up, and there's a flash at the top, there's a flash in the middle, there's a flash at the bottom, and then it hits the ground and you have to jump. So they have all the telegraphs and all the animations to show exactly what you're supposed to do as a player so that you know when you get hit, you know why, because there were all these visual indicators showing you that you had timing to do this. That's the stuff, if that was missing, I'd be worried as shit, but it's not. They can polish up everything else very, very easily by comparison, but having the understanding that the player needs a visual cue like that, that's hard to undo, man. That's hard to go back and add later. But they had all of that in the trailer, so I was like, okay, yeah, you guys are going to do it right. You know, everything else is going to come together later. It's minor polish.
Yeah, the fact he said that Warframe is like JoJo for you now. Reb Ford is a massive JoJo fan, and now is she used to be head of community, but now is she the creative director? She's like moved up. I forget who or what her job title is now at DE. But the fact he said that is going to make her day. So,
dude, I've been having an absolute blast in it, and I have thousands of hours in Warframe from back in the day.
Yeah,
like I was one of the first people who got a Shedu. I built Railjack faster than most other players. Like I was so into the game, and I have basically everything unlocked. Like I've had it for years. So like jumping back in now after like a 3-4 year hiatus, there's a wild amount of shit to do.
It's always fun when that happens to go back to a game that you put that much time into, for sure. Zeke, we got 5 minutes. I know you started your Yakuza thing. How is the Yakuza treating you?
It's great.
Is it everything?
I mean,
like what have you kept yourself completely blind from everything?
Yes, actually, yes.
Wow. Okay. First off,
which one are you playing?
Right there. He's playing the most recent one.
The second, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth.
Oh, Infinite Wealth. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I think the newest core game from them, and I've played every core game that RGG has put out. So it's honestly there's not really much to report. It's just like it's great.
Yeah,
if you
what
like
you wanted.
The Like a Dragon Yakuza series, then you'll like this game because it has a lot of the same characters, all the same charm. They've added, I'm sure they've added a couple things, but I barely scratched the surface. I'm on chapter 3, I think, of like 1 million or whatever it is, however long it takes to complete that game. But yeah, I'm excited to see where they go. And I'm not sure, but it feels like this is the official. But of course, it's a Japanese game in the Japanese style. Like I want to feel like it's the official passing of the torch from Kiryu to Ichiban, the main characters, but probably not. They'll probably just keep coming back. And the funny thing is, like, I don't remember how old Kiryu is, but I think we calculated it as like 50 something. He gets younger every game. This game is included in that, except for his hair. His hair went gray, and I'm not even sure if that's real or it's a dye job or something.
It's hilarious.
But yeah, 60s. He's in his 60s.
Damn.
And he still looks like he's 30, at most 30. So like, yeah, that shit is, but it's great. The voice acting. I mean, I've been doing English voice acting for the first time, just because it is more viewer friendly. People can listen to it better than in Japanese. They'd have to actually sit there and read it, or I would have to TLDR it.
Yeah.
Like, so this is what just was happening for people who are just listening to the stream or can't pay attention the entire time. Because it is mostly talking. Like in the first 4 hours, I think I played the game 20 minutes.
There's a lot of cutscenes. Yeah.
A lot of cinematic, a lot of just dialogue, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But that's the thing.
A lot of it.
Once you get the game opened up to you, after they give you like, here's a shitload of exposition, and it will continue throughout the game. But after this first dump, you'll have time to like go around and like explore, do mini games. You can do that for as long as you want. There's no time limit on this. So you can go and, play darts or whatever the fuck, do your heart's content. And then the story will be waiting for you to come back. And that's basically how these games have always worked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love when the story goes like, your best friend is dying in a burning building and you're running towards you. You're like, oh wait, karaoke.
Yep.
No, that's absolutely
I love that.
The game. It's like, there's a baby falling out of a building. Hold that thought.
Yeah,
I'm going to go golf right now, real quick. I'm just going to get a couple
my
of rounds in.
I need to get my chicken to run a real estate company for a bit,
exactly.
and I'll be back.
I've actually got another game, and I don't know if you guys have seen this one before. Have you ever heard of Meet Your Maker?
Yes. Yeah.
So Meet Your Maker, I played the shit out of this when it launches. It's basically Mario Maker mixed with Quake. You build the dungeons, people go and run them, and you laugh your ass off as they die in them over and over again. It's hilarious.
Is that your favorite part, to watch people die in your dungeons?
No, I sit there and I make these horrible. I made one recently. It's just a bunch of acid cubes, and they just spit acid inside. And I watch people like hopping around, bunny hopping, trying to get their way through, and they die. And my favorite thing in the world is seeing a player die, and then he teleports back to the beginning because he just died, and then he doesn't move for the first 30 seconds of the next round. And you know he's just like throwing his keyboard, he's screaming at the screen, like you know that's happening. You know it's there. It's great, dude. I love the shit out of this game.
This is a game developer. Of course, the thing they like is making.
Yeah. No, I realized. Yeah,
yeah,
you're right. That should have been in here. Yeah.
So, this is actually made by behavior. What's up? Oh,
you mentioned an idle game.
Yeah.
Which one? Because I've been playing Slice and Dice on my phone, but I'm getting near the end of it, and I'm like, I need a new one.
Egg Inc. is really good. It's you're a chicken farm, and it gets real weird.
That's okay. The pitch.
Good.
Yep.
Awesome.
Egg Inc.
This game is actually done by Behavior. It's it had a rough launch, and I think it's because they had some design flaws.
Yeah.
And basically what ended up happening was players built kill boxes. Shit was not compelling because you have the difficulty that's defined by the player base. So of course they're going to make the most goblin bullshit they possibly can and make it awful to play. So they had to find ways to make it so that players would be kind of categorize their dungeons into areas where like these are easier, these are harder, in a way that was dynamic based on the actual dungeon performance. And they did that, and now the game's just in an awesome state. So I showed it off to the community recently, and it's just exploded again. I just can't wait to play it. So I'm going to be playing it every Monday and just going ham because I love it, dude. It's so fun. It's like pen testing every dungeon because you don't know what it's going to be. These are all player built. You have no idea what the level is going to be.
Yeah, how is the community around this? Has it like solidified into its own thing now after kind of exactly what you said, a little bit of a rough launch?
So I was actually pretty afraid because it turned a little bit toxic. There was not enough players. And when I found it again, where I was like, hey, I'm going to go check this out again. It's been about a year and a half. There were 4 online players. And I was like, shit, man. Like, I'm worried that this game's going to go away because this is one of my favorite games that's out there because it's just so different, if that makes sense. So if you go pull up their SteamDB, you can see when I started playing it on stream, and I was like, I want to show you guys this game just in the last week. And you can see where it went from 10 to like 140, and it's retained it.
Huh.
So like, the only reason that I was like, hey, this is cool to showcase now is because like I went and played it and I was like, oh man, they fixed all of those launch day woes. What they need is they need eyes now. Like they fixed the design problems. They listened to the community. There's just not enough community for it to matter now.
Right.
So I wanted to show it to the whole community, and it did great. And people have been staying with it. And it's retained all of that even through the weekend and the weekdays. Like everybody's still playing, that it's not decreasing over time, which means that it's in the right spot finally.
Sure.
And I can't wait to die in a bunch of dungeons and scream at the screen. It's basically people do really artistic stuff too. Like people make big skulls or like giant dragons, and like there's a lot of creative freedom with it, which is just cool. Level makers like this also I find make you a better developer. It's the same reason that like you play Dungeons and Dragons. You become a better dev because you learn player behavior, you learn, level design, you learn all this kind of stuff. And it's great. These games are awesome for that.
Yeah.
It's good that it exists again because modding and level editors kind of went away for a very long time. But like I started on the StarCraft map editor when it came to like level design. Like, I bounced off 100%. Of it. I might give it another go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's fair. In the beginning, it was rough as shit. Even I bounced off of it. It's definitely one of my favorite games.
That's cool. Yeah, these are
we'll trade. You
go ahead, Rami.
I said we'll trade. I'll play this. You play EDF. We'll compare notes.
Done.
You guys can compare notes. Fantastic.
You're gonna see pictures of me shooting ants tonight, dude.
Oh yeah.
Ready.
Fantastic. All right, that's gonna do it for the show. Unfortunately, I have a very hard out. I got to get on the road and go to a birthday south of me in San Antonio, so I gotta drive for a little bit. But
I can't believe this man touches grass. Gross.
Yeah. I know. Sorry. Let's do some shout outs. Let's go around here and tell people what you got going on and where they can check you out. Zeke, start us off.
Yo, what's up, everybody? Thank you guys very much for being here. My name is Ezekiel III. You can find me at /Ezekiel_III on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube. And I will never call it X because it's always going to be Twitter to me. And Ezekiel III, all spelled out, on Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much to Rami and PirateSoftware for being here today. I appreciate it. It's all like I told people before today, I was like, it's going to be a great show. I'm barely going to have to say anything. And pretty much true. Yeah, it was great. And JP, of course, for being my co-host every week. I broadcast usually every day at 1 p.m. Eastern, except Mondays. Tomorrow's my day off. But I've been doing Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. And for the first half of the day, and for the second half of the day, I've been doing a game series of games I never beat, which means games I never beat but wanted to as a kid. And I am currently on Blaster Master, and it is a fucking bitch.
Oh, you still haven't beaten it?
It is a real bitch. Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah. It's a toughie. It's a toughie. But this is volume 6. So I've beaten a couple of tough ones, i.e. Ninja Gaiden and TMNT. So I have beaten a couple of them. This one's just going to take a little bit more practice, and we'll get it done. So that's what I'll be doing for a little while. And we've got a lot of 100-month sub appreciation games coming up. A lot of requests from people who have 100 months subbed in my channel. So chock full of shit this month. So it'll be fun. Thank you for watching.
Fantastic. Rami, what do you got going on? Tell people where they can find you.
I have too much going on. I might have mentioned it in the show, but I'm finally started one of my own projects again. So I have an own game in development, which is super exciting. I haven't really talked about it all that much, but maybe sometime soon I'll be able to talk about a game that is entirely mine again.
Nice.
Which has been too long. So I'm excited about that. If you want to see me be have despair at the state of the world, you can follow me on Twitter. If you do not want that, do not follow me on Twitter. I'll just come back to here. Thanks so much, everybody, for being a lovely audience as always. Go check out EDF. I'm going to check out this custom mech game. And I'm excited to be back sometime in the future, hopefully, and then we'll go from there. So have a good one.
Fantastic. Old Thor. Do some shout outs. Where can people check you out?
Just slide off screen real fast. There we go. Yeah. Hi, everybody. So my name is Thor, or PirateSoftware, as I'm known on the internet. I've been in the game industry for like 20 years. Most of what I do on Twitch is streaming game development. So the first half of every one of my streams is about 6 hours. It's streaming game development. Last half is me playing video games, because I think it's very important as a dev to go and play other people's stuff and have fun with it, right? Because you'll learn a bunch of things out of what they're doing. Most of what I try to do on Twitch and on Discord and things like that is to try to teach people how to make games and give them the confidence to do so, because we live in one of the best times in history to make games. It's actually phenomenally easy to start doing this. It's just hard to do it commercially. That doesn't mean that you can't try. And it's the best part about it. So I run game jams. We actually just finished one at 15,000 people are competing in the game jam, about 2,500 games overall, which is awesome as hell. And we're in the middle of voting on those. The next one's going to be in January, but the places you can find me are twitch.tv/PirateSoftware. And you can also find me at PirateSoftware pretty much at any platform, and then Discord is discord.gg/PirateSoftware. Discord is set up in a way where you basically learn a shitload of skills, and all of it is free. My whole thing is give you as much free information as I possibly can so that you can go forward and do awesome stuff with it, no matter what. Don't want to put paywalls or any bullshit in the way.
Fantastic. That's it.
So two questions. What are you making now, and how can I buy the demo?
The demo is free, and I'm working on a game called Heartbound. I swear to God. Yeah, I'm working on a game called Heartbound. It's up on Steam. We're sitting at 95% positive, but this is my love game, right? Like, this is the one where it's like, it will be finished when it's finished. I work on it on the side. I've been working on it for years. I always add something new and weird to it. It is my place for adding all my weird and strange ideas, and it has thousands of routes, most of which the community has never found or never will find, even with tens of thousands of sales of the game,
Oh, yeah.
And I'm happy with that. And I'm always going to be happy with that. And I think the best part about it, man, is like, there are things that people find, and people that have been in the community for 7 years will be like, I never knew that existed. And I was like, yeah, it's been there the whole time. And it's like a nice little secret thing. And like, people finally post that shit. And it's the nicest thing for me, because that's where all the weird ideas get to go, is into that game. And it's funny because people get mad. They're like, why isn't the game done? I was like, did you enjoy your experience? They're like, yeah. I was like, then that's all you need. Like, eventually it will.
Cards on the table.
Just keep releasing new stuff for it.
Full cards on the table. After you were here last time, I liked your vibe so much. I'm like, I'm going to go look at the game, and I bought it immediately.
Did you enjoy it? I hope you did.
I've not picked it up yet. I'm going to stream it.
So I'll give you something with it.
Okay.
Everything changes something. Everything. No matter what you like. As an example, one of the things that I try to tell people is, people go, oh, I played it. It was only like an hour and a half long. And I was like, try it again. And like, what do you mean? I was like, try it again, do something different. Anything different. maybe don't pick up your sweater. Maybe don't answer a question. Just sit there and wait for it to resolve. Like there's so many different things. And what I tried to do with it was instead of just giving you a little line of dialogue and then just going back to the same path, there's routes that end the game early. And I did that because it reminded me of back in the day with Chrono Trigger, where there are endings that are terrible, where the world ends. You have failed as a hero. And I wanted that, but more. And I got so sick of shit like Fallout 4, where it was like, you choose yes, no, maybe, kill the guy, and all the results are the same. It doesn't matter. It's a different flavor, and that's it. And so I made this thing, and it's weird. It's an experimental ass RPG with a ton of experimental weird shit in it, and it's not for everyone. It definitely is not. So like, play the demo, and if you don't like the demo, bounce. Like, because you're not.
If you ask my community, like one of my favorite things playing indie games for as many years as I've had, finding every fail condition I can.
Good luck.
Love it.
Yeah, I was about to say.
I'm excited, dude.
Let's take the third talk. I'm excited to talk to you again in 7 years, Zeke.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, maybe we'll have Zeke. Maybe we can have you critique the game, and then Pirate can react to it, so we get the full circle.
Can he react to it on the big board? Because we didn't even get that today.
That's true. Yeah,
dude. Let me know when you run the stream, because I want to be there. I just want to watch. I just kind of sneak in a chat, and I'm like, what's he doing?
Just quietly watch. Just instead of click holding, we have Thor holding at this point. Like, this is going to be weird.
I play click holding.
My favorite thing to do is there's a part of the game that's like, there are certain sections where I tried to drop like emotional landmines, but the emotional landmines hit different people based on their experiences in life. So there'll be like a moment where like someone will hit a scene, and I've watched streamers go and play it, and they had like history in AAA, and they get to that scene, and I've watched the dude just break down crying playing the game, and he's like, and people are like, what's wrong? And he's like, I can't explain it. And I'm like, yeah. And then I've seen people just go past it and like, that's a stupid ass scene. It's stupid. This game sucks. I'm like, yeah. Because like it's a bunch of tiny isolated experiences for different types of people based on what you've experienced, what you've gone through. And it's going to be real different for everyone. That's why I love watching people play, because I have no idea what's going to happen. Right?
That's great. That's how it should
No
be.
clue.
Cool.
JP,
what's up?
birthday.
Yeah, no, I gotta go. I'm the one running the show here. That's fine. Thanks everyone so much for watching. We'll put the VOD up over at youtube.com/itmeJP. That should be live here in about an hour. It kind of just takes however long it takes YouTube to process it, because it'll get uploaded pretty quick. But yeah, that's it. Thank you all so much. Cohh should be back next week. We'll hear all about his journey to the spot that he went in his vacation, and then we'll see what else we get up to. Might just be the three of us. Maybe we'll have a guest. I don't know. We don't really plan that far ahead. This show got put together on Friday, for example. Anyways, thank you all for watching. Rami, Thor, thank you both for joining. We are out of here. We'll see you next week for more Drop Frames. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
See you guys.